We are on the record for hearings in the matters listed in the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for August 28th. I am David Garner, hearing examiners for these hearings. We're at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. Case number 31083 dismissed. Case number 31087 continued. Case number 31093 dismissed. Case number 31100 dismissed. Case number 31135 continued. Case number 31136 continued. The administrative docket starts on page 6 with case number 31094 and goes through case number 31137. These cases will be heard in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the cases in the administrative docket will be placed on the oil and gas website by the end of the week. If you wish to appear in one of the matters in the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back into this hearing room to be heard, and your statements and evidence will be taken. We will begin with moving to case number 31077, which is an application of Enerplus Resources USA Corp. For an order amending the applicable orders for the Little Knife Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping stand-up 2560-acre spacing unit described as sections 25, 26, 35, and 36, Township 146 North, Range 97 West, Dunn County, North Dakota, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled in such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Enerplus Resources USA Corp. I've got 3 witnesses appearing telephonically, Nicole Meredith, John Prim, and Eva Tomova, and they should all be on the line right now.
Ms. Meredith. Ms. Meredith?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you
great,
solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Nicole, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is Nicole Meredith, employed at Cord Energy, of which Enerplus Resources is a subsidiary of. Work address is 1001 Fannin, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas 77002, and I work as a landman at Cord Energy.
And Nicole, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing unit?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Ms. Meredith be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Nicole, let's start with your exhibit L1, if you can identify the area of the spacing unit.
Sure. Exhibit L1 is the regional locator map. So this just portrays the outline of our proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit, comprised of Township 146 North, Range 97 West, Sections 25, 26, 35, and 36.
Okay. And let's move on to L2, if you could take us through your working interest in that proposed spacing unit.
So this identifies the requested overlapping working interest for the 2560-acre spacing unit. Currently, we have a 91.3% working interest.
Okay. And then moving on to L3, if you can describe the working interest in those underlying spacing units.
Sure. We've identified here Unit A being comprised of sections 26 and 35 with a 91.8% working interest, and Unit B comprised of sections 25 and 36 with a 90.8% working interest, and Enerplus operates both underlying units.
Okay. I have no further questions for Ms. Meredith. I'd offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. Prim,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
John, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is John Prim. I'm a geologist at Cord Energy, parent company to Enerplus Resources USA. Business address 1001 Fannin Street, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas 77002.
And John, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing units?
Yes.
I'd move the testimony of Mr. Prim be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
John, let's start with your Exhibit G1. Can you describe the structure underlying the proposed spacing unit?
Yeah, so Exhibit G1 shows an Upper Buchan structure map centered over Township 146 North, Range 97 West, with the proposed spacing unit outlined in the yellow dashed line. Contour intervals are at 20 feet subsea TBD, and it's showing a dip to the northeast from approximately negative 8560 to 8600 feet across the proposed spacing unit.
Okay. Let's move on to G2 and go through your ISOPAC map.
Yep, so the ISOPAC is centered over the same area with the same proposed spacing unit highlighted. It's showing the presence of the middle Bakken across the spacing unit at approximate thickness of 31 feet.
Okay. And moving on to G3, can you take us through your type log?
Yep, so this is a type log from Section 16 in the same township and range, just to the northwest of the spacing unit, and it's centered over the middle Bakken, showing the petrophysical characteristics of the subsurface below the spacing unit.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Ms. Tomova,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Eva, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Eva Kamala Mejia, a development engineer here in Cord Energy, very Cord Energy, hired the 4001 number 1500 Houston, Texas 77002.
Okay. Eva, we're getting some feedback or something. It's a little bit difficult to hear you. Eva, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
And have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, I have.
And are you familiar with the engineering matters associated with the proposed spacing units?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Ms. Tomova be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Eva, let's look at your exhibit E1. Can you describe for us how you would intend to develop the proposed spacing unit?
Yes, so we're planning on drilling one well, as mentioned, and the spacing unit, 146, 97, 25, 25, 26, 35,
Eva, hang on for just a second. Do you have like your computer, like do you have the hearing on in the background or something? We're getting a lot of feedback and it's difficult to hear your testimony.
plug and unplug, or I'll put it on to from my phone.
Didn't catch that.
How is this? Is this better?
That's better.
Hear me better?
Yes. Let's go ahead then and just with the exhibit, can you just start over with that, what you're looking at with respect to developing that spacing unit?
Hello?
Yeah,
Can you guys hear me?
now I can.
Is it better? Oh, okay. I just came over to Nicole. I don't know what's going on with my gun. I apologize. We
That's-
tested it earlier, but it was working.
Okay, that's all right.
Okay,
You have the exhibit there?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and go through that and describe the development then.
Okay, perfect. So as you can see, the section line well is depicted in the purple solid line and outlined in the green box, 2560 unit, sections 25, 26, 35, 36, township 146, 97 west range. And in the dash purple line is the remaining development that's going to occur at the same time with the section 9 well. The gray box is depicting the surface location. And that's about all I have.
Sure. Let's go ahead and move on into the next exhibit, E2, and if you could summarize the reservoir data and then the economics for us.
Yep, this will be a middle Bakken well. Reservoir pressure just under 8,500 psi. Reservoir temperature 271. Average net pay 32 feet. Oil in place just over is shown on there, and well EOR expected is around 465 MBO. Economics were ran at $71.5 a barrel and $2.75 per MCF. This is going to be a 2-mile well. Investment is going to be $6 million at a 1.25 PIR 10, discounted PIR 10.
And Eva, in your opinion, if the commission allows this spacing for the development of that lease line well, would that prevent waste and protect relative rights?
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions. I'd offer the engineering exhibits as well as the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Eva, this is David Tabor. On Exhibit E1, your expected surface location, is that on an existing pad where you'll expand the current pad, or is that a new construction pad?
New construction.
What's your drilling sequence that you're planning to do? Is the section line well going to be done first and or at the same time as the other wells that are proposed on this exhibit?
At the same time.
Okay, so you'll drill all wells proposed back to back?
Yeah. Yep. We actually have the Lynn drilling following, going south as well. So it's going to be the northern development and the southern development, a total of 12 wells.
When's your proposed spud date?
Right now is early December.
Did you say December
Yep, early December.
of 24, I'm assuming?
Which, yes. Which reminds me that we would need this spacing expedited to make sure that it doesn't delay our spud plan. Correct?
So you have the drilling rig contracted then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Eva, still on your Exhibit E1, is that section line well going to be drilled right down the section line, or is there going to be some offset?
I think the current plan is to drill it right on the section line.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wade, I noticed the caption for this application requests an overlapping stand-up 2560 acre spacing, and I assume this is not a stand-up spacing unit?
No, that's, sorry, Mark, that's a typo. So, yeah, it's not a stand-up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing further. That concludes our hearing for case number 31077. Case number 31078. Application of Enterplus USA Resources USA Corp. for an order amending the applicable orders for the Mandaree Bakken Pool. to establish an overlapping stand-up 2560 acre spacing unit described as sections 29, 30, 31, and 32, Township 149 North, Range 93 West, Dunn County, North Dakota, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Enerplus Resources USA Corp. We'll have a new landman, Ben Plank. The other two witnesses will be the same.
Mr. Plank,
Good morning.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Ben, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is Ben Plank. I'm employed by Enerplus Resources, who is a subsidiary of Cord Energy. Our current address is 950 17th Street, Suite 2200, Denver, Colorado, 80211.
And Ben, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have.
And have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, I have.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing unit?
I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony, Mr. Plank, be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Ben, let's start with your exhibit number L1, if you can identify the spacing unit for us.
Sure. So Exhibit L1 is just a broad area reference map. It shows the general location of the proposed 2560 overlapping spacing unit, which is located on sections 29, 30, 31, and 32 of Township 149 North, Range 93 West in the Mandaree Field.
Okay. And let's move on to the next exhibit and walk through your working interest.
Sure. So the second slide, Exhibit L2, it depicts the base units to the proposed overlapping unit. So as you can see, we have two stand-up 1280s, and for the first stand-up 1280 is sections 30 and 31, in which Enerplus operates at a 98% working interest. The second stand-up 1280 is sections 29 and 32, which Enerplus operates at an 87% working interest.
Okay. And then the next exhibit, the working interest in the full spacing unit?
Yeah, so the third slide, it shows, it depicts the proposed 2560, outlined by the red dashed line, and Enerplus would have a 92% working interest in this unit. The proposed section line well is depicted by the solid red line there, if you can see that.
Yep. I have no further questions. I would offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Okay, just a reminder, your next two witnesses are still under oath.
Sure. And John, let's go ahead and start then with your G1, and if you can describe the structure underlying the proposed spacing unit.
Yep, G1 is showing an Upper Bakken structure map with the proposed spacing unit highlighted in the dash yellow line in Township 149 North, 93 West. The contour intervals are 20 feet in subsea TVD space, and it's showing a dip to the west approximately from negative 8440 to 8480 subsea TVD. And also highlighted is that type log just to the northeast in section 21.
Sure. And let's move on to G2, the ISOPAC map.
Yep, so this ISOPAC is centered over the same area with the same proposed spacing unit highlighted. It's showing the middle Bakken gross interval thickness across the area with contour intervals of 2 feet, and it is showing an approximate thickness of 41 feet across the entire spacing unit.
Okay, and moving on to the type log G3.
And this is the type log that I pointed out earlier, the Harmon 1, and it is centered over the Middle Bakken reservoir interval, showing the expected petrophysical characteristics of the subsurface we expect to encounter.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Eva, let's look at Exhibit E1, if you can describe your development plan for this spacing unit.
Yes, so similar to the previous one, here we have a section line well depicted in the solid purple line and outlined with the green box. 2560 units, sections 29, 30, 31, 32 of Township 149, range 93 west.
Okay,
The
go ahead.
Sorry, the remaining development is shown in the dashed purple lines, and the expected surface location is there on the north side. This is going to be an extension.
All right. And let's move on then to E2, if you can take us through your reservoir data and economics.
Yeah. So initial reservoir pressure just over 9,500 psi, temperature 260 degrees Fahrenheit, average net pay at just over 40 feet. Expected well EUR is at 657 MBO. Economics will run at $71.5 a barrel and $2.75 per MCF for this 2-mile well. Investment just under $8 million, and discounted PR is at 4.79.
Okay. And Eva, in your opinion, if the spacing unit's established to allow for the lease line well, would that prevent waste and protect relative rights?
Yeah.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer the exhibits and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Hey Eva, this is Caleb. I was looking at the well density. It looks like in sections 30 and 31 you have 10 wells, and then in 29 and 32 you're only going to have 6 wells. Does this sound about right? Or is there?
Actually, there is a section line well on the eastern section line well as well. So it will be a little less dense than 30 and 31. That's kind of the cordway and what we're testing. There's going to be fewer 3/4 drilled in this unit than the offsetting units as well. So we've had good success with the higher spacing between wells and drilling fewer 3/4. So we're expecting this to be sufficient to develop all the resources in these 2 sections.
Okay, thank you.
Eva, this is David Tabor. Expected surface location, same as the last case. Is that a new build or on an existing pad that it will be expanded?
Expansion. It's going to be existing pad with expansion.
Are these wells?
Sorry, I'm hearing some echo.
Yep, sorry. Are these wells proposed to be drilled back to back
Yes.
along with the section line well?
Yes.
Okay. Is the section line well proposed to be drilled on the section line or offset?
It's right on the section line.
What's your
It goes
anticipation?
like 1 foot.
Yep, sorry. What's your
It's
anticipated?
right on the section line.
What's your anticipated spud date?
It's going to also be drilled in December. So similar to the previous case, we'll be hoping for an expedited approval for this to avoid delaying our plans. They're drilling with the 2 true rigs that Interplus has. So this is going to be on one rig, and the other development that we tested earlier would be with the other rigs putting around the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Wade, again, I assume this is not meant to be a stand-up 2560.
That's correct. It is not.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31078. Case number 31079, application of Hess Bakken Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Manitou Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping 38, 40-acre spacing unit described as sections 15, 16, 21, 22, 27, and 34, Township 156 North, Range 94 West, Montreal County, North Dakota, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hess Bakken Investments 2 LLC. Intend to have 3 witnesses on this case: John DeWitt, Othman El Halou, and Aisha Keshemir, and I need to call them now. Hey, John, can you hear me? Good. All right, we're live in the hearing room, ready to go.
Mr. DeWitt,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
John, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is John DeWitt. I'm employed by Hess Corporation as a senior land negotiator with an address of 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas, 77010.
And John, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
I have.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing units?
I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. DeWitt be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And John, let's start with exhibit number 1, if you can identify the spacing unit that we're looking at today.
Yes. Exhibit 1 is a location map depicting Township 156 North, Range 94 West in Montreal County. The blue outlines represent the 2 1280 DSUs and 2 640 existing DSUs, being sections 15 and 22, 16 and 21, section 27, and section 34. The green outline represents the requested overlapping 3840 DSU, being sections 15, 16, 21, 22, 27, and 34.
Okay. And let's move on to exhibit number 2. Let's walk through the working interest in the proposed spacing unit and the underlying units.
Yes, exhibit number 2 is a land plat showing the proposed 3840 spacing request in a black dash outline. In green is the Hess-operated Ian EVA DSU, whereas his working interest is 67.43%, and the remaining owners with 32.56%. In blue is the Hess-operated Ian Person A DSU, whereas his working interest is 91.53%, and the remaining owners with 8.47%. In yellow is it Hess-operated Ian Lallam A DSU, whereas Hess owns 100% of the working interest. And in orange is Hess-operated Lallam D DSU, whereas also owns 100% of the working interest. And the combined working interest of the proposed Ian Strand 156-94-34-16 DSU will be with Hess owning 86.33% and the remaining owners with 13.67%. Another few things I'd like to note, just a few comments regarding our choice to develop this irregular sized DSU with 4 4-mile wells from the southern border of the proposed DSU. There are several significant surface challenges, including proximity to landowner homes, topography associated with the White Earth River area, potential environmental concerns, and limited access routes. We chose to develop this overlapping DSU from the south as a last resort. And that's all I have.
Okay. I have no further questions, and I would offer the land exhibits 1 and 2.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
John, sections 15,
Yes.
16, 21, and 22 are currently at 2560. Does Hess want that dissolved?
There are 15 and 22 is a 1280, 16 and 21 is a 1280, and there are also producing wells from that 2560. So we do not want that dissolved. This will be overlapping all of it.
So what wells are producing on the 2560 consisting of 15, 16, 21, and 22?
I do not have that in front of me.
Is it,
Um,
is it possible there aren't any
the-
wells in that?
The Ian Joyce LE 15694, 17 and 21 H3.
And that's on the 2560 consisting of 15, 16, 21, and 22?
I believe so. They're drilled at an angle.
Well, Hess will need to address that. My records indicate there are no wells in that 2560, and if that's the case, it would be terminated. But you can,
And I would say if that's the case, we would terminate that 2560.
okay. I'd still like you to follow up with confirmation or an explanation that there are or are not any wells on that 2560.
But we will follow up with that.
Thank you.
It's okay. We can follow up.
Mr. L. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I swear.
Othman, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. My name is Othman Al-Halou. I'm employed by Hess Corporation as an operations geologist. Business address is 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas, 77010.
And Othman, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
They were.
Okay, and are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing units?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. El Halou be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Othman, let's start with exhibit number 3. If you can describe for us the structure underlying this proposed 3840.
Sure. Exhibit 3 shows the location of the existing DSUs in blue and the requested 3840 DSU outline in green with the existing wells marked. The top middle bottom structure map is presented with a 50-foot contour interval showing that the formation is dipping to the south. The line A to A prime represents the location of the wells used in the cross-section in the next exhibit.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to that cross-section then, exhibit number 4.
Sure. Exhibit 4 is a stratigraphic cross-section that's flattened on the top of the Bakken, showing that the targeted formations are present and continuous throughout the region.
Okay. And Othman, is the geology fairly consistent throughout the entirety of this 3840?
It is.
Okay, no anomalies or anything like that that you're aware of?
No, sir.
I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 3 and 4.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Ms. Ketchmere,
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Aisha, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. My name is Aisha Kashmir. I'm a reservoir engineer employed by Hess Corporation, located at 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas 77010.
And Aisha, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the engineering-related matters associated with the proposed spacing units?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Ms. Keshmir be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Aisha, let's look to exhibit number 5. If you can walk us through how you would develop this 3840.
Sure. The Exhibit 5 shows the proposed 3840 development for Section 15, 16, 21, 22, 27, 34. It's going to be a 4-mile lateral. The dashed line are the proposed wells, and they're going to be drilled from the southern pad, as you can see in Section 34. And those are going to be drilled in the Middle Bakken Formation. And as John mentioned it earlier, the reason why we're doing this 4-mile lateral is due to issue and finding a location for the EVA. The previous 2560 spacing we did in the past for the EN EVA. Now, we couldn't find a real pad location that can make us drill those 2-mile lateral. That's the reason why we're moving to a 4-mile lateral development plan.
Sure. Let's go ahead then and move on to exhibit number 6. Can you walk us through the reservoir data and then the economics?
Sure. Exhibit 6 shows the reservoir and economic summary for a single 4-mile lateral Middle Bakken well in East Nesson area. The expected EUR is around 980,000 standard barrels. Economics will run at $62 per barrel WTI, flat, and 100% working interest. The expected MPV is around 18 million with 100% rate of return.
Okay. And Aisha, if the commission were to approve this 3840 to allow for these 4-mile laterals, in your opinion, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, definitely.
I have no further questions at this time for Ms. Keshmir. I'd offer the exhibits 5 and 6 and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Aisha, this is David Tabor. Are the wells proposed to be drilled back to back?
Yes, yes.
What's your anticipated spud date?
It's May 2026.
May 2026, did you just say?
Yes, that's correct.
In section 27, there appears to be a well that is in an active status, a Bakken well that Hess owns. Does Hess anticipate continuing to produce that well, or are they proposing to plug and abandon that well?
In section 27, that's the plan is that to plug and abandon that well
And
because it's going to be crossing those existing wells.
how about the same situation in section 34?
So we'll study the same thing for those wells, and the same decision will be made to abandon this well when we stop drilling the new batches.
Okay, thank you.
Aisha, has Hess drilled any 4-mile laterals yet?
Not yet, but we just filed the first one today. Actually, not in August. That will be our first 4-mile lateral that we're going to drill in Beaver Lodge. We did the hearing back in January for this well.
And you did say that you're going to batch drill these 4 wells. It wouldn't be drilling one and evaluating?
Yes,
Yes, you'll be batch drilling them?
yes, we're batch drilling them, yes.
How many stages are planned?
50 stages. You mean for completion, right?
Yes, 50 stages for each well?
Yeah. 50 stages for each well, for my level of around 20 million pounds.
And I guess this is a question for John. Would you be able to provide us
Yes.
a map highlighting those topographic difficulties and environmental concerns?
Yes, we can provide you a map and a summary.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Aisha, does Hess have any concerns with drilling these 4-mile laterals with the bend in them that is depicted?
No, no concerns.
So I assume you've modeled the torque and drag to see if you can get to TD?
Yes, that's correct.
That's on the drilling and on a running casing?
Yes, sir.
Do you have to use any special tools to drill these wells, or can you use conventional tools?
Conventional tools.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
For that
Okay, we have a couple requests.
2560, that
Hey, guys, hang on, I
can
can
be
hear you.
dissolved.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep the hearing on.
Yeah.
Hey, guys,
I thought
we
were
can hear you.
It's worth it.
John. Okay. Can you put them back on? Hey, John, you still there? Can you guys hear me? Do you have them muted or? Oh, okay.
Do
John,
we lose y'all?
no, we're here. We could just overhear your internal conversation, so,
Oh, yeah.
with respect to the late filed exhibits that we need to provide, what kind of time frame you looking at?
Oh, we can get you those, if not today, tomorrow.
For both?
Yeah,
All right. Can we just have a week just to make sure then?
That's fine.
Okay,
sure.
Does that take us to the 4th?
I think that's correct. Yeah, the 4th.
Okay, so the record will remain open in this case until September 4th. That concludes our hearing for case number 31079. Case number 31080. Application of Hess-Bakken Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Ellsworth Bakken Pool, McKenzie County, North Dakota to 1, establish an overlapping laydown 1920 acre spacing unit described as sections 26, 27, and 28, Township 149 North, Range 100 West, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. 2, establish an overlapping laydown 38, 40 acre spacing unit described as sections 21, 22, 23, 26, 27, and 28, Township 149 North, Range 100 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit, or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hess-Bakken Investments 2 LLC. I'll have 3 witnesses in this case. It'll be the same land witness, but then we'll have Jacob Smith on geology and Carson Noble engineering.
Okay, just a reminder, Mr. DeWitt is still under oath.
Sure. And John, let's go ahead and start with exhibit number 1, if you can identify the proposed spacing units for us.
Yeah, Yes, exhibit number 1 is the location map depicting Township 149 North, Range 100 West in McKenzie County. The blue outlines represent the 6 existing 1280 stand-up DSUs, 14 and 23, 15 and 22, 16 and 21, 26 and 35, 27 and 34, and 28 and 33. The yellow outline represents the requested overlapping laydown 1920 DSU being sections 26, 27, and 28. The green outline represents the requested overlapping 3840 DSU being sections 26, 27, 28, 33, 34, and 35.
Okay. And let's move on to exhibit number 2 and go through the working interest for the 1920 and the underlying spacing units.
Yes, Exhibit 2 is the land plat showing the proposed 1920 spacing request in the black dash outline. In green is the Hess-operated BW Edwin Stenson DSU, whereas his working interest is 75.80, and the remaining owners with 24.20%. In yellow is the Hess-operated BW Gudmundson DSU, whereas his working interest is 71.17%, and the remaining owners with 28.83%. In blue is the Hess-operated BW McGregor DSU, where Hess's working interest is 64.18%, and the remaining owners with 35.82%. The combined working interest of the proposed BW Chad Allen 149, 100, 2826 DSU will be Hess with 70.38%, and the remaining owners with 29.62%.
Okay. And let's move on to exhibit number 3 and look at the working interest for the 3840.
Exhibit 3 is a land plat showing the proposed 3840 spacing request in the black dashed outline. In orange is the Slauson-operated Atlas DSU, where Hess's working interest is 4.65%, and Slauson et al. With 95.35%. In gray is the Hess-operated BW Hagen DSU, where Hess's working interest is 67.28%, and the remaining owners with 32.72%. In purple is the court-operated Curl DSU, where Hess's working interest is 35.38%, and Cord Energy et al. With 64.62%. In green is the Hess-operated BW Edwin Stenson DSU, where Hess's working interest is 75.80, and the remaining owners with 24.20. In yellow is the Hess-operated BW Gudmundson DSU, where Hess's working interest is 71.17%, and the remaining owners with 28.83%. And in blue is the Hess-operated BW McGregor DSU, where Hess's working interest is 64.18%, and the remaining owners with 35.82%. The combined working interest of the proposed BW Chad Allen LN 149, 100, 2826 DSU will be Hess with 58.17%, and the remaining owners with 41.83%. Also to note that Hess provided written notice to Slauson and Whiting record of our proposed development plan, and there were no objections. Thank you.
Okay. I have no further questions that offer the land exhibits 1 through 3.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. Smith,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Jacob, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yep. Jacob Smith, employed by Hess Corporation as a geologist, with a business address at 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas, 77010.
And Jacob, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have.
And have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
I have.
And are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing units?
I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. Smith be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Jacob, let's start with exhibit number 4. Can you describe the structure underlying the proposed spacing units?
Yes, sir. This is a structure map on the Middle Bakken with a contour interval of 50 feet. The existing DSU outlines in blue, requested 1920 in the gold, and the requested 3840 in the green, and the contour shows that formation is dipping to the east. And the purple Beta A prime is the location of the wells used in the next cross section.
Okay, and let's go ahead and move on to that exhibit 5 cross-section.
This cross-section is flattened on top of the Bakken formation, showing that targeted formations are present and continuous.
Okay, and I have no further questions. I'd offer Exhibits 4 and 5.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. Noble,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the power of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Carson, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Carson Noble, employed by Hess Corporation as a reservoir engineer. Business address is 1501 McKinney Street in Houston, Texas, 77010.
Carson, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, I have.
And are you familiar with the engineering matters associated with these spacing units?
I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. Noble be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Carson, let's start with exhibit number 6. Can you describe for us the intended development plan?
Yeah, so Exhibit 6 shows the proposed 1920 developments for sections 26, 27, and 28. Those dashed green lines in the middle there show the proposed 3-mile development plan from the pad, location denoted in blue.
Okay. And then let's look at the next exhibit and describe the development on the 3840.
Yeah, so this exhibit shows the proposed 3840 for sections 21, 22, 23, 26, 27, and 28. That highlighted dashed green line to the north there is the proposed 3-mile east line well.
Okay. And let's go on to exhibit number 8, if you can summarize for us the reservoir data and the economics.
Yeah, this shows the reservoir and economic summary for that single 3-mile middle pocket well in this Buffalo Wallow area. Expected EUR of that well's about 773,000 barrels with roughly a 4.4% recovery factor on that well. The economics were run at $62 per barrel WTI flat and 100% working interest. The expected NPV of this is about $7.7 million with a rate of return of roughly 51%.
And Carson, in your opinion, if the commission were to approve the 1920 and then the 3840 for that lease line well, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, it would.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 6 through 8, as well as the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Carson, this is David Tabor. On Exhibit 6, are the wells proposed along with the lease line well planned to be drilled back to back? Or batch drilled, sorry?
Correct. Yeah, the lease line well and the wells in Exhibit 6 will all be drilled at the same time.
What's your anticipated spud date?
December of 2026 for this group of wells.
Is the lease line well planned to be drilled on the section line or offset?
It's roughly 50 foot south of the lease line, but it's going to be very close to that section line.
And on Exhibit 6, there are currently well bores in each of those 1280 spacing units. What is the plan for those? Are they going to be continued to be produced and just shut in during drilling and completion, or is it proposed to have those wells plug and abandoned?
I believe longer term they're going to be plugged and abandoned. They'll likely produce for the first, year or so until we can drill the companion spacing case, which is coming after this, the wells to the south of what is shown on Exhibit 6.
Is
If that tracks.
Is there any anticipated setbacks on completion due to that, or just evaluate and determine from that?
Yeah, I think we plan to probably just complete the entirety of the 3-mile wells, so we won't have any setbacks for these wells.
And based on the location of your surface, proposed surface, I'm assuming that's a new build pad?
Correct, that'll be a brand new pad.
There is a current pad in section 29. Am I correct in assuming that due to wellbore construction that those angles and drag would just simply be too much to be able to use that existing pad and just expand upon it?
I'm not exactly sure, I'm not a drilling engineer, but generally the guidance we've been giving is that step outs, in excess of 4,000 feet are extra challenging on the drilling side, and it's more preferred to develop a new pad more central to the pad location when surface constraints allow.
Okay, thank you.
Carson, on Exhibit 6, is that pad gonna be in section 29?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
it's very likely to be in 29. I don't know if we finalized the location, but I think it's more likely than not to be in 29.
Okay, thank you.
Carson, there are currently 2560 overlaps in sections 27, 28, 33, and 34, as well as 26, 27, 34, and 35. Do you want those terminated?
Yes, they'll be, yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31080. Case number 31081. Application of Hesbachen Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Ellsworth, Bear Butte, Bully, and/or Buffalo Wallow, Bakken Pools, McKenzie County, North Dakota to 1. Establish an overlapping laydown 1920 acre space unit described as sections 33, 34, and 35, Township 149 North, Range 100 West, and authorize 4 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. 2. Establish an overlapping laydown 38, 40 acre spacing unit described as sections 33, 34, and 35, Township 149 North, Range 100 West, the east half and east half west half of Section 1, Township 148 North, Range 101 West, and the west half of Section 4, and all of Sections 5 and 6, Township 148 North, Range 100 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit, or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. I will note that the 38, 40 acre request has been withdrawn from this application. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, PO Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hesbachen Investments 2 LLC. And Mr. Examiner, I'll have the same 3 witnesses in this case, and as Mr. Noble mentioned, this is essentially a companion case to the previous, picking up the 1920 to the south, so I apologize, there'll be some overlap in the testimony.
Okay, just a reminder, they're still under oath.
John, let's take a look at exhibit number 1, if you can identify the spacing unit for us.
Yes, exhibit number 1 is a location map depicting Township 149 North, Range 100 West in McKenzie County. The blue outlines represent the 3 existing 1280 stand-up DSUs, 26 and 35, 27 and 34, and 28 and 33. And the orange outline represents the requested overlapping laydown 1920 DSU being sections 33, 54, and 35.
Okay, and let's move on to exhibit number 2 in the working interest.
Exhibit number 2 is the land plat showing the proposed 1920 spacing request in the black dashed outline. In green is the Hess-operated B.W. Edwin Spence's DSU, where Hess's working interest is 75.80, and the remaining owners with 24.20%. In yellow is the Hess-operated B.W. Gedmonson DSU, where Hess's working interest is 71.17%, and the remaining owners with 28.83%. In blue is the Hess-operated B.W. McGregor DSU, where Hess's working interest is 64.18%, and the remaining owners with 35.82%. The combined working interest of the proposed B.W. Cushing 149, 100, 33, 35 DSU will be Hess with 70.38%, and the remaining owners with 29.62%.
Okay, no further questions for exhibits 1 and 2.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right, and Jacob, let's look at exhibit number 3. structure underlying this 1920?
Yes, sir. So this structure map is on the middle Bakken with contour interval of 50 feet, showing formation dipping to the east. The blue outlines are the existing VSUs, and the gold is requested 1920. The purple 8-8 prime line represents the wells next used in the next cross section.
Yep. And that's exhibit number 4. Just briefly touch on that.
Yep. So this is very similar to the last case. This is a cross section plotting on the top of the Bakken formation, showing our formations are present continuous.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 3 and 4.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Okay, you can proceed.
Okay. And Carson, let's look at exhibit 5. Can you go ahead and describe how you intend to develop the 1920?
Yes, this shows the proposed 1920 developments for section 33, 34, 35. It's dashed green lines you see there shown are the proposed 3-mile development plan from the pad location denoted in blue, which is also likely to be off lease or off the section.
Sure. And let's look at the reservoir data and economics for this 1920.
All right, similar story here. This shows the reservoir and economic summary for a single 3-mile Middle Bakken well in that Buffalo Wallow area. We expect the EUR is the same as the last case at 773,000 barrels with roughly a 4% recovery factor. Econs are run at a $62 per barrel WTI flat at 100% working interest. The expected NPV of this is $7.7 million with a rate of return of 51%.
And Carson, on this one, if the commission were to approve the overlapping 1920, in your opinion, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, it would.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 5, 6, and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Carson, this is David Tabor. When's your anticipated spud date for these wells?
So this one is May of.
You cut out, Carson.
Sorry, May of 2026 for these wells.
These wells are going to be batch drilled as well?
Correct.
And similar to the last case, there's existing well bores that you would be crossing. Are those wells anticipated to continue to produce or plug and abandon them prior to drilling and completing the wells?
So I think it would probably be after drilling and completing the wells we would abandon these, but the expectation would be that we would drill over them and complete the entirety of the 3-mile laterals, abandoning the wells afterwards.
And the surface location is in section 32, is that correct?
Yes, it is likely in section 32. I don't know if we finalized it, but it's looking more likely than not to be farther to the west of 32.
Okay, thank you.
Hey Carson, this is Caleb. Is there any reason why we didn't do a lease line well on this one?
A lease line well to the north or to the south?
To the north.
Yeah, so the reason is we wanted to keep and maintain roughly about 1,000-foot spacing on these units between the wells. So there's roughly 1,000 feet, offset of that lease line in between our wells. Elected not to run one to the south because of kind of the offset nature of the townships there. Figured that would be a challenge.
Awesome, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31081. This time, why don't we take a 10-minute break?
Guys, we're taking a 10-minute break. Can you just keep on the line? Just mute it.
Will do.
Okay.
Okay, we are back on the record. We will resume with case number 31082, application of Hasbachen Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Camel Butte and/or Blue Buttes Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping 2560 acre space unit described as sections 23, 24, 25, and 26, Township 151 North, Range 96 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hasbachen Investments 2 LLC. All the same three witnesses testifying in this case, John DeWitt, Jacob Smith, and Carson Noble again.
And all are still under oath. You can proceed.
John, are you there?
I am.
All right, let's go ahead and start with your exhibit number 1, identify the spacing unit in this case.
Yes, exhibit number 1 is a location map depicting Township 151 North, Range 96 West in Mackenzie County. The blue outlines represent the 4 existing 1280 stand-up BSUs, sections 13 and 24, 14 and 23, 25 and 36, and 26 and 35. The green outline represents the requested overlapping 2560 DSU being sections 23, 24, 25, and 26.
Okay, and let's move on to exhibit number 2, and let's go through the working interest.
Exhibit number 2 is the land plat showing the proposed 2560 spacing request in the black dash outline. In green is the Burlington-operated Anderson Ranch DSU, where Hess's working interest is 2.25%, and Burlington et al. With 97.75%. In blue is the Burlington-operated Legend DSU, where Hess's working interest is 36.17%, and Burlington et al. With 63.83%. In orange is the Burlington-operated Lassen DSU, where Hess's working interest is 10.23%, and Burlington et al. With 89.77%. In yellow is the Hess-operated BB State DSU, where Hess's working interest is 85.45%, and the remaining owners with 14.55%. The combined working interest of the proposed BB State LN 15196-2526 DSU will be Hess with 33.53%, Burlington with 62.84%, and the remaining owners with 3.63%. Hess provided, also to note that Hess provided written notice to Burlington of our proposed development plan, and they're in favor and provided the attached letter of support.
And that's identified as exhibit 2A, I believe, correct?
Yes, that is Exhibit 2A.
All right. I have no further questions. I'd offer the land exhibits 1, 2, and 2A.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right, Jacob, let's go ahead and start with exhibit number 3. Can you describe the structure underlying the proposed spacing unit?
Yes, sir. So this is a structure map on the Middle Bakken with 50-foot contour interval. Again, this is kind of on the nose of the anticline, so it's majority dipping south from where we're at. But the purple 8A prime is location of the wells used in the next cross-section.
Okay, let's move on to that exhibit 4. Can you walk us through your cross-section?
Yep, 8A prime from the previous exhibit. This cross-section is flat on top of the Bakken, showing our targeted formation is present continuous.
All right, I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 3 and 4.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right, Carson, let's look at exhibit 5. Can you describe your proposed development plan for this 2560?
Sure. So this Exhibit 5 shows that proposed 2560 for sections 23, 24, 25, and 26. That highlighted dash green line going from east to west shows the proposed lease line well planned from the pad location denoted in blue.
All right, and let's move on then to exhibit number 6. If you can walk us through the reservoir data and the economics.
This shows the reservoir economic summary for a single 2-mile Middle Bakken well in the Blue Buttes area. The expected EUR is about 630,000 barrels with a 3.2% recovery factor. The econs will run at $62 per barrel WTI at 100% working interest. Expected NPV is $8.9 million with a rate of return of a little over 100%.
Carson, in your opinion, would establishment of this overlapping 2560 to allow for the lease line well, would that prevent waste and protect relative rights?
Yes, it would.
I have no further questions. That offer exhibits 5, 6 in the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Carson, this is David Tabor. Are the wells including, on Exhibit 5, are all wells depicted planned to be batch drill?
Yes, they'll be drilled as part of the well, including some wells that are not shown on this map.
What's your anticipated spud date?
Spud date is November of 2025.
Lease line well proposed to be drilled on the section line, or is it going to be offset?
We're aiming for right on the section line.
Yeah, thank you.
Carson, this section line well is going to go by quite a few heels and toes that are drilled less than 100 feet from the section line. How are you going to frac protect those or avoid a substantial amount of cleanouts?
Yeah, so I can't speak to the oil resources wells, but our wells will usually get frac protect in instances like this, so we'll be kind of actively live pumping into these wells to mitigate the chances of filling these laterals up with sand. We'll also probably adjust the proppant intensity on the proposed lease line well to be a little bit lighter to account for the fact that we do have a decent amount of well density there.
Okay, thank you.
Carson, have you looked at, because you have heels in sections 26 and heels in section 24, have you looked at maybe drilling the well further south across 23 and 26 common line and maybe further north across 24 and 25 common line?
We haven't yet looked at that. That's usually something that comes into account a little bit closer to when we develop these wells, but I think that's a possibility. It's basically kind of drilling this thing at a slight slant through that lease line corridor to basically place the wells where most of the under-stimulated rock is.
And in your economics, is that discounted for because of these existing wells or not? See, not the
Yes, it is.
not the economics, but your recovery.
Correct. It's in line with expectations of what one of these infill wells might produce.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31082. Case number 31083. Application of Hesbakken Investments 2 LLC for an order suspending and after hearing revoking permits issued to Continental Resources, Inc. for the drilling of the Vera 2-1H SL with a surface location in Lot 1 of Section 1, Township 155 North, Range 95 West, to be drilled back outside of the spacing unit for the well in the Vera 9-1H SL with a surface location in the northeast-southeast quarter of Section 1, Township 155 North, Range 95 West, to be drilled back outside of the space unit for the well, Williams County, North Dakota, or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 31083. Case number 31005. Application of Hesbakken Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Sorkness and/or Big Butte Bakken Pools, Montreal County, North Dakota, to 1. Establish an overlapping stand-up 19-20 acre spacing unit described as sections 5, 8, And 17, Township 157 North, Range 93 West, and authorize 2 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. 2, establish an overlapping 3840 acre spacing unit described as sections 4, 5, 8, 9, 16, and 17, Township 157 North, Range 93 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit. Or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hess Bakken Investments 2 LLC. We'll have John DeWitt on land again, and then we'll be back to Othman El Halou and Aisha Keshimir as the other witnesses.
And the witnesses are still under oath.
Okay. And John, let's start with exhibit number 1. Can you identify the spacing units for us?
Yes, exhibit number 1 is a location map depicting Township 157 North, Range 93 West in Montreal County. The blue outlines represent the 4 existing 1280 stand-up DSUs, sections 4 and 9, 5 and 8, 17 and 20, and 16 and 21. The red dash outline represents the requested overlapping stand-up 1920 DSU, being sections 5, 8, and 17, and the green dash outline represents the requested overlapping 3840 DSU, being sections 4, 5, 8, 9, 16, and 17.
Okay, and let's move on to exhibit number 2, if we can go through the working interest on the 1920 and the underlying spacing units.
Yes, exhibit 2 is the land plat showing the proposed 1920 spacing request in the black dash outline. In yellow is the Hess operated Ian Selby DSU, where Hess's working interest is 66.87%, and the remaining owners with 33.13%. In green is the Hess operated Ian Nordset DSU, where Hess's working interest is 53.55%, and the remaining owners with 46.45%. The combined working interest of the proposed Ian Mom 15793 1705 DSU will be Hess with 62.43%, and the remaining owners with 37.57%.
And exhibit 3?
Exhibit 3 is the land plat showing the proposed 3840 spacing request in the black dash outline. In yellow is the Hess operated Ian Selby DSU, where Hess's working interest is 66.87%, and the remaining owners with 33.13%. In orange is the Hess operated Ian Starler DSU, where Hess's working interest is 95.38%, and the remaining owners with 4.62%. In green is the Hess operated Ian Norset DSU, where Hess's working interest is 53.55%, and the remaining owners with 46.45%. In blue is the Oasis operated Fearing State DSU, where Hess's working interest is 1406, and the Oasis et al. Is 85.94%. The combined working interest of the proposed Ian Mom LE 15793 1705 DSU will be Hess with 65.35%, and the remaining owners with 34.65%. Also to note that Hess provided written notice to Oasis of our proposed development plans, and there were no objections.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 1 through 3.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
John, there's a
Yes.
case 31007 that an order has not been issued in yet, I don't believe. And it's a 2560 consisting of 17, 18, 19, and 20. So why is Hess developing 3840 lease line spacing units on the east side, and then on the west side it's 2560 spacing units?
It's because a portion of the development is developed in 1280s, and a portion of it is being developed in 1920. There's also the Fearing State DSU that is operated by Oasis, and since we weren't able to develop that as a 1920, and we elected to develop those as 1280s, and that's our story there.
Okay, thank you.
You can proceed.
All right, Othman, let's look at exhibit number 4. Can you describe the structure underlying the proposed spacing units?
Yes, sir. Exhibit 4 shows the location of the existing DSUs in blue. and the requested 1920 DSU outline in pink, and also the requested 3840 DSU outline in green with the existing wells marked. The top middle Bakken structure map is presented with a 50-foot contour interval showing that the formation is dipping to the south. The line 8-8 prime represents the location of the wells used in the cross section.
Okay, and Othman, let's move on to Exhibit 5. Can you walk us through your cross-section?
Yep. Stratigraphic cross-section that's flattened on the top of the Bakken, showing that the targeted formations are present and continuous throughout the region.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer Exhibits 4 and 5.
Exhibits are admitted. Questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Okay, Aisha, let's look at Exhibit 6. Can you describe your proposed development plan for this 1920?
Sure. Exhibit 6 shows the proposed 1920 development plan for Section 5, 8, and 17. The bold green dotted lines are the proposed wells and will be drilled in the Middle Bakken formation.
Okay, and then if we move on to Exhibit number 7, the 3840 in that lease line well.
Yes, the Exhibit 7 shows the proposed 3840 development plan for Section 4, 5, 8, and Section 9, 16, and 17. The same thing, the bold green dashed lines are the proposed wells, is the proposed well and will be drilled in the Middle Bakken formation from the same pad as the infill.
Okay, and then let's move on to the reservoir data and the economics in Exhibit number 8.
Exhibit 8 shows the reservoir and economic summary for a single 3-mile lateral, Middle Bakken in East Neston area. The expected EUR is around 820. Economics were run at $62 WTI flat and 100% working interest. The expected MPV is around 14 million with 100% rate of return.
Okay. And Aisha, if the commission were to approve the 1920 as well as the 3840 for that lease line well, in your opinion, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer Exhibits 6 through 8 and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Aisha, looking at your Exhibit 7,
Yes.
are all of these wells going to be batch drilled?
Yes, that's correct.
And what's your spud?
Start date is May 26th.
And there hasn't been any, regarding the lease line well here, there hasn't been any development on Section 9 yet, and you do have a pad of permits under Hess on Section 9. Are those going to be drilled prior to this pad?
Yeah, this is the Ian Starla. There will be like a batch of 5 wells in Section 9 and
And regarding the east half of the development to the south, Sections 20, 29, and 32, that's going to be addressed in the next case?
that's correct, yes.
Is this well, the lease line well, going to be drilled right on the section line, or is it going to be slightly to the west?
It's going to be slightly to the east, to the west, sorry. Yeah, slightly to the west, around 100 feet, 100, 150 feet.
Thank you.
Aisha, I got a quick question about the completion. Are the planned 2-mile wells and the planned 3-mile wells, are they going to have equal spacing in terms of their completion stages?
We usually put more proppant on the 3-mile lateral, so it's going to be around 15 million with almost 600 entry points, which make it around 40 stages, 35 to 40 stages.
Okay, and then on the 2 miles, I guess, are those planned to also have 40 stages or something similar in terms of?
No, yeah, on the 2 miles would be less proppant, around 10 million.
Okay.
and next stages, yes.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31005. Case number 31006, application of Hesbach and Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Big Butte Bakken Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota to 1, establish an overlapping stand-up 1920 acre space unit described as sections 20, 29, and 32, Township 157 North, Range 93 West, and authorize 2 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. 2, establish an overlapping 3840 acre space unit described as sections 20, 21, 28, 29, 32, and 33, Township 157 North, Range 93 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled in such unit, or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota. Appearing in this case on behalf of Hesbach and Investments 2 LLC. I have the same 3 witnesses testifying in this case.
And they are still under oath.
Okay. And John, let's start with exhibit number 1. Can you identify the proposed spacing units?
Yes, exhibit number 1 is the location map depicting Township 157 North, Range 93 West in Montreal County. The blue outlines represent the 4 existing 1280 stand-up BSUs, sections 16 and 21, 17 and 20, 28 and 33, and 29 and 32. The red dash outline represents the requested overlapping stand-up 1920 BSU being sections 20, 29, and 32. And the green dash outline represents the requested overlapping 3840 BSU being sections 20, 21, 28, 29, 32, and 33.
And let's move on to exhibit number 2. Can you take us to the working interest in the 1920?
Exhibit number 2 is the land plat showing the proposed 1920 spacing request in the black dash outline. In green is the Hess operated Ian Norset BSU, where Hess's working interest is 53.55%, and the remaining owners with 46.45%. In yellow is the Hess operated Ian Halverson DSU, where Hess's working interest is 93.61%, and the remaining owners with 6.39%. The combined working interest of the proposed Ian RC 15793-2032 DSU will be Hess with 80.26% and the remaining owners with 19.74%.
Okay, let's move on to exhibit number 3 and the working interest in the 3840.
Yes, Exhibit 3 is the land plat showing the proposed 3840 spacing request in the black dash outline. In green is the Hess operated Ian Norset BSU, where Hess's working interest is 53.55%, and the remaining owners with 46.45%. In blue is the Oasis operated Fearing State DSU, where Hess's working interest is 14.06%, and Oasis et al. Is with 85.94%. In yellow is the Hess operated Ian Halverson DSU, where Hess's working interest is 93.61%, and the remaining owners with 6.39%. In orange is the Hess operated Ian McKenna DSU, where Hess's working interest is 38.47%, and the remaining owners with 61.53%. The combined working interest of the proposed Ian RC LE 15793-2032 DSU will be Hess with 55.29%, and the remaining owners with 44.71%. And also to note, Hess provided written notice to Oasis of our proposed development plan, and there were no objections.
Okay, I have no further questions at all for exhibits 1 through 3.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Okay. Othman, let's look at exhibit number 4. Can you describe the structure underlying the spacing units?
Yes, sir. Exhibit 4 shows the location of the existing DSUs in blue and the requested 1920 in pink. Also the 3840 DSU outline in green with the existing walls marked. The top middle Bakken structure map is presented with the 50-foot contour interval showing that the formation is dipping to the south. The line A to A prime represents the location of the wells used in the cross section in the next exhibit.
Okay, and let's go through that cross-section, exhibit 5.
There's a stratigraphic cross-section that's flattened on the top of the Bakken showing that the target formations are present and continuous throughout the region.
have no further questions that offer exhibits 4 and 5.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right, Aisha, let's look at exhibit 6. Can you describe the development of this proposed 1920?
Sure. Exhibit 6 shows the proposed 1920 development plan for section 20, 29, and 32. The bold dashed lines are the proposed wells and will be drilled in the middle market information.
Okay, and moving on to exhibit number 7, that 3840 in the lease line well.
Exhibit 7 shows the proposed 3840 development for section 20, 21, 28, and section 29, 32, 33. The full dashed line is the proposed well and will be drilled in the middle basin formation as well and drilled from the same pad as the infill wells.
Okay. And then let's move on to exhibit number 8. Just summarize the reservoir data and the economics.
Exhibit 8 shows the reservoir and economic summary for a simple 3-mile lateral middle basin well in East Lassen area. The expected EUR is around 820. Economics were run at 62 WTI flat with 100% working interest. Expected NPV is around 14 million with 100% rate of return.
Okay. And again, Aisha, in your opinion, if the 1920 as well as the 3840 are established as spacing units to allow for this development, would that protect correlative rights, prevent waste, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions that offer exhibits 6 through 8 in the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Aisha, what's your anticipated spud date?
It's the same, it's May.
Sorry, you were cutting out.
You cut out, Aisha. Can you repeat that?
Sure, it's May 26th.
And these will be batch drilled?
Yes,
That was a yes?
yes, yes.
And how far from the section line well is that well going to be drilled?
It'll be around 150 feet.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31006. Case number 31084. Application of Marathon Oil Company for an order amending the applicable orders for the Bailey Bakken Pool, Dunn County, North Dakota to, 1, establish an overlapping stand-up 2560-acre spacing unit described as sections 13, 24, 25, and 36, Township 145 North, Range 94 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit. 2, establish an overlapping stand-up 2560-acre spacing unit described as sections 18, 19, 30, and 31, Township 145 North, Range 93 West, and authorize 2 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. 3, establish an overlapping stand-up 5120-acre spacing unit described as sections 13, 24, 25, and 36, Township 145 North, Range 94 West, and sections 18, 19, 30, and 31, Township 145 North, Range 93 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit, or 4, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Marathon Oil Company. I'll have 3 witnesses appearing telephonically, Taylor Roberts, Sarah Beth Donaldson, and Julie Allen, and I need to call them.
Taylor, a guy or a girl?
Taylor, can you hear me? All right, we're ready to go.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Taylor, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. Taylor Roberts, I'm a senior land professional for Marathon Oil Company with a business address of 990 Town and Country Boulevard, Houston, Texas, 77080.
And Taylor, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, sir.
And have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing units?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, I'd move the testimony of Mr. Roberts be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Taylor, let's start with your Exhibit L1. Can you identify the spacing units we'll be discussing?
Sure. Exhibit L1 depicted in the dashed lines shows the two overlapping stand-up 2560-acre spacing units and the overlapping 5120-acre spacing unit comprised in Township 145 North, 93 West, Sections 18, 19, 30, and 31, and then Township 145 North, 94 West, Sections 13, 24, 25, and 36, and then the 5120-acre spacing unit encompassing both of those previously described with legal descriptions.
Okay. Let's move on then to Exhibit L2. Can you take us through your working interest in that first 2560?
Sure. In Exhibit L2, Marathon has approximately a 78.62% working interest in this 2560, which is sections 13, 24, 25, 36 of 145 North, 94 West.
Okay. And then let's move on to L3 and your working interest in that other 2560.
Sure. Exhibit L3, Marathon has approximately an 82.01% working interest consisting of sections 18, 19, 30, and 31 of Township 145 North, Range 93 West.
Okay. And then moving on to L4, your working interest in the proposed 5120.
Sure. Exhibit L4, Marathon has an approximately 80.31% working interest encompassing of sections 18, 19, 30, and 31 of Township 145 North, Range 93 West, and sections 13, 24, 25, and 36 of 145 North, 94 West.
Okay. I have no further questions that offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from staff? Ms. Donaldson,
Yes,
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
yes, I do.
Sarah Beth, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes. I'm Sarah Beth Donaldson. I'm an advanced geologist at Marathon Oil Corporation, located at 990 Town and Country Boulevard, Houston, Texas, 77024.
And Sarah Beth, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, they are.
And are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing units?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Ms. Donaldson be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Sarah Beth, let's begin with Exhibit G1. Can you describe the structure underlying the proposed spacing units?
Right. Depicted in G1 is the Upper Bakken Shale structure map with a contour interval of 20 feet. The 5120-acre spacing unit is shown in the red dashed polygon, which has an average depth of less than half a degree. The pink line from A to A prime is the cross-section shown in Exhibit G2.
Okay, and let's go through that G2, the cross-section.
Okay. The cross-section from A to A prime shows our primary target interval for this area, the Middle Bakken. The Middle Bakken thickness is consistent across the cross-section with the thickness variation of less than 5 feet.
Okay. So is the geology fairly consistent throughout the entirety of each of these proposed spacing units where you'll be drilling the 4-mile laterals?
That's correct. Within the unit itself, the middle block thickness varies only by 1 foot.
Okay. Let's move on and discuss your proposed development plan for these spacing units. Let's look at G3 first.
Okay. Depicted in G3 is our plan of development for both 2560 spacing units, one 4-mile middle Bakken well in the western 2560, and two 4-mile middle Bakken wells in the eastern 2560, shown by the green dashed line. Both are drilled from existing pads, and they will be developed together with an estimated spud date at the end of this year into Q1 of 2025.
Okay. And then moving on to G4, that lease line well on the 5120.
Pictured in G4 is our plan development for the single 4-mile, the 5120 well, also shown in the green dashed line.
Okay. And then if you could take us through G5, what your sort of full development of the lands looks like with the requested wells as well as the other additional infill.
G5 is our full development within both 2560s and the encompassing 5120 spacing units. The northern pads in sections 7 and 18 will be batch drilled and zipper fracked. So off those pads you can see the 4 miles and then the 2-mile lateral.
Sure. I have no further questions. I'd offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from staff?
Has Marathon drilled any 4-mile laterals so far?
We have not. Each of our assets have only drilled 3 miles with an estimated completed lateral length of about 15,300. But this will be the first for Marathon to drill the 4 miles.
But you would be batch drilling all the 4-mile laterals and not drilling one and evaluating?
That's correct. We're drilling them all together.
Any anticipated issues getting to TD with the...
We have not. No, we do have our drilling engineer online just in case if further technical questions are requested. But as of now, our torque and drag models show that we are able to run casing the bottom and lighter the bottom and using our standard operations. The last exhibit does show our plan of casing design.
And there's 3 pads, it appears here, or I guess 4 locations to drill from. Would you just be, where would you be starting? Would you be moving from one pad to the other?
That's right. So really, it's only section 7 is going to be that 5-well pad, and you'll have 3 4-milers off the one, and then 2 2-milers. And then in section 18 is the existing chink pad, which will have 2 4-milers, and then 2 2-milers off of it. But the remaining of the wells will be drilled to the north that are not shown within these spacing units.
And then for the pad in 25, or in 26 and 4?
26 and 4, those are, we have not evaluated those. These are just shown within our future plan of development. We will need to stage gate those appropriately as time permits in the future.
So regarding the pad in section 7, what's your spud date for those, or anticipated?
That is at the end of this year, so middle of December, but it could fall into early 2025.
And is there a timeline for that pad in the northeast of 18?
They'll be drilled consecutively.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury, the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes.
Julie, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
My name is Julie Allen. I'm a senior reservoir engineer for Marathon Oil, and we're located at 990 Town and Country Boulevard, Houston, Texas, 77024.
And Julie, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the engineering matters associated with the proposed spacing units?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Ms. Allen be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Julie, let's start with E1. Can you take us through the reservoir data and the economics? I guess for the initial, the first 2560, that would be.
Yes. This proposed 2560 acre unit well is a 4-mile Middle Bakken well with an expected production of 899,000 barrels of oil. This is out of an original oil in place of about 13.7 million barrels for the 2560 acre unit, leading to a well recovery factor of about 6.6%. The well is expected to have positive returns with a BFIC NPV10 of about $7 million. The economics will run at $70 per barrel WTI flat.
Okay, and then let's move over to the next 2560 in E2.
Okay. This proposed 2560 acre unit wells are 4-mile Middle Bakken wells, each well with an expected production of 907,000 barrels of oil. This is out of an original oil in place of about 13.7 million barrels, leading to a well recovery factor of about 6.6%. The wells are expected to have positive returns with a BFIC NPV10 of about $8.1 million. The economics will run at $70 per barrel WTI flat.
Okay, and then E3, the reservoir and economics for that lease line.
All right. This proposed 5120 acre unit well is a 4-mile Middle Bakken well with an expected production of 907,000 barrels of oil. This is out of an original oil in place of about 27 million barrels for the 5120 acre unit, leading to a well recovery factor of about 3.3%. This well is expected to have positive returns with a BFIC NPV10 of $8.1 million. The economics will run at $70 per barrel WTI flat.
And Julie, let's move on to E4. Can you describe for us how you would intend to drill and complete these proposed 4-mile laterals?
Yes, the drilling and completion plan for these 4-mile wells is to run and cement 7 3/4 casing past the kickoff point, and to run and cement a 5-inch liner approximately 20,000 feet further. We will be completing 85 stages in a plug-and-perf manner. The total well cost is expected to be around $11.7 million, and this includes location, drilling, completion, flowback facilities, and artificial lift costs.
And Julie, in your opinion, if the commission were to approve these spacing units to allow for the 4-mile lateral development, is that going to prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer the engineering exhibits and the gas capture affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? That concludes our hearing for case number 31084. Case number 31085. Application of Marathon Oil Company for an order amending the applicable orders for the Bailey and/or Lake Ilo Bakken pools to establish an overlapping 2560 acre spacing unit described as sections 17, 20, 29, and 32, Township 145 North, Range 93 West, Dunn County, North Dakota, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled on such unit, or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Marathon Oil Company. Have the same three witnesses testifying in this case, and again, Mr. Examiner, this is for stand-up 2560 directly adjacent to and to the east of the previous cases, so again, there'll be some overlap in the testimony. I apologize. So.
Okay, just a reminder, they're still under oath.
And Taylor, let's go ahead and look at your Exhibit L1. Can you identify the proposed spacing unit for us?
Sure. Exhibit L1 is a legal description, section 17, 20, 29, and 32 of 145 North, 93 West, depicted by the dash lines of the image on L1.
Okay. And let's go ahead and move on to the next exhibit, L2, excuse me, and go through your working interest.
Sure. On Exhibit L2, Marathon has approximately a working interest of 87.65% in sections 17, 20, 29, 32 of 145 North, 93 West.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Okay, Sarah Beth, let's look at G1. Can you describe the structure underlying this proposed spacing unit?
Listed in G1 is the same Upper Bakken Shale structure map with a contour interval of 20 feet that was shown in case number 31084. The 2560 acre spacing unit is shown in the red dashed polygon, which has an average depth of less than half a degree.
Sure.
The pink line from A to A prime is a cross-section shown in Exhibit G2.
Okay, and just want to run us through that cross-section again quick?
Mm-hmm. Cross-section from 8A prime, the same cross-section shown 31084, shows our primary target interval for the area, the Middle Bakken. The Middle Bakken thickness is consistent along the cross-section, with a thickness variation of less than 5 feet.
Okay, and then G3, how would you propose to develop the 2560?
G3 is our plan development for the Middle Bakken 4-mile well shown in the green dashed line within the 2560 spacing unit. And the pad is estimated to spud at the end of this year, into Q1 2025, from the same pad that was shown in Exhibit 31084.
Okay, and then finally moving on to G4, can you describe for us what your full plan of development of these lands would look like?
Yep. Listed in G4 is our full development within the 2560 spacing unit. This pad will be batch drilled and zipper fracked. And the pads located in section 32, those have not been evaluated, or that are drilling from south to north, and will be stage gated closer to estimated spud dates well into the future.
Sure.
We're only considering from pads section 9 and 18, or 18 for this.
Yep. I have no further questions. I'd offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Sarah Beth, I would like to go back to the previous case and ask a quick question. Sections 17, 18, 19, and 20 are currently at lease line 2560. Is that well going to be drilled?
Let me open it. I'm sorry, I had closed it out.
I guess it would apply to this case also. Just curious if you're, since you proposed a 3840 on the west side, why you didn't propose one on the east side of 18, 19, 30, and 31, or the west side of 17, 20, 29, and 32?
Okay, it's just open, and I apologize. Could you repeat your initial question?
So currently 17, 18, 19, and 20 are lease line 2560,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna drill a lease line well on the west side of 18 and 19, 30 and 31, a 4-mile well. You're not proposing a lease line well, a 4-mile lease well between your two proposed stand-up 2560s. I was just curious if you're gonna drill that 2-mile lease line well, or what your future plans might be.
Our future plans does not encompass that. We are drilling only on unit wells for the 2560, 18, 19, 30, and 31. And then for this exhibit, the single 4 mile, 2560, 1720, 29, and 32, we do not have a 21 or 5120 section line well, a lease line well that encompasses those units. So it's just going to be the 2 on unit based at 520 feet off of the section line for both.
Correct, but you are gonna drill a 4-mile lease line well on the west side, right?
On the west side, yes.
And you're not proposing one,
That's correct. It was just due to the spacing against the as-drilled wells that are on location. You can see at the heel, within section 18, it does get a bit closer, and just due to the well spacing that we deemed economic in this type curve area, it did not fit to place 3 wells in between the 2 existing parents.
okay, so then are you gonna drill that lease line 2560 well consisting of 17, 18, 19, and 20?
We are not drilling a 2-mile well there. No,
And you have no plans to?
no plans.
So should we terminate that spacing unit?
I would say yes, but I would like to verify with our team, so we will get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Wait, how long do you need the record left open to get a response?
Just a week, I would imagine, would be
We'll
sufficient.
keep the record open until September 4th then. Anything further? That concludes our hearing. My bad. Thank you. Sorry. Ms. Allen,
Yes.
sorry for ignoring you. Do you,
All right.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Julie, let's look at your E1. Can you summarize the reservoir data and the economics?
Yes. The proposed well is a 4-mile Middle Bakken well with an expected production of 907,000 barrels of oil. This is out of an original oil in place of about 12 million barrels for the 2560 acre unit, leading to a well recovery factor of 7.5%. The well is expected to have positive returns with a BFIT NPV10 of $8 million. The economics are run at $70 per barrel WTI flat.
Okay. And then moving on to E2, I guess I would assume, but correct me if I'm wrong, take us through that exhibit. It's the same probably drilling and completion plan as in the previous case with those other 4-milers?
Yes, it'll be the same plan as the other 4 miles. The drilling completion plan for the 4-mile wells is to run and cement 7 3/4 casing past the kickoff point, then to run and cement a 5-inch liner approximately 20,000 feet further. We'll be completing 85 stages in a plug-and-perf manner. The total well cost is expected to be around $11.7 million, and this includes location, drilling, completion, flowback facilities, and artificial lift costs.
And Julie, on this one, if the commission approves this spacing to allow for the 4-mile lateral, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
I have no further questions. I'd offer the engineering exhibits and the gas capture affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 31085. Case number 31086, application of Marathon Oil Company for an order amending the applicable orders for the Bailey Bakken Pool, Dunn County, North Dakota to 1, establish an overlapping 2560 acre space unit consisting of sections 29, 30, 31, and 32, Township 146 North, Range 93 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled in such unit. 2, eliminate the reduce setbacks on either side of the common boundary between two 1280-acre spacing units described as sections 29 and 32 and sections 30 and 31, Township 146 North, Range 93 West, and 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Marathon Oil Company. Same 3 witnesses will testify in this case.
And they are still under oath.
Okay, and Taylor, let's start with L1. Can you identify the proposed spacing unit?
Dash line, consisting of sections 29, 30, 31, and 32 of 146 North, 93 West.
Okay. And let's move on to L2 and your working interest.
Sure. On L2 for this 2560 acre unit, Marathon has approximately a 97.675% working interest, consisting of sections 29, 30, 31, and 32 of 146 North, 93 West.
Okay. I have no further questions that offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right. Sarah Beth, let's look at G1. Can you describe the structure underlying the proposed spacing unit?
Depicted in G1 is the same upper Bakken Shale structure map with the contour interval of 20 feet that was previously shown in both cases. The 2560 acre spacing unit is shown in the red dashed polygon, which has an average depth of less than a degree. The pink line from A to A prime is the cross-section shown in G2.
Okay. And could you just briefly summarize that cross-section again for us?
Yeah. Cross-section from A to A prime is the same cross-section shown in the previous cases and shown on primary target interval for this area, the Middle Bakken. The Middle Bakken thickness is consistent across the cross-section with a thickness variation of less than 5 feet.
Okay. And then moving on to G3, take us through your proposed development of the 2560.
Yeah. Depicted in G3 is a plan development for the Middle Bakken section line well, shown in the green dashed within the 2560 spacing unit. This pad is estimated to spud Q2 of 2025.
And then moving on to G4, can you describe what the kind of full development would look like?
G4 is our full development within the 2560 spacing unit. The pad will be batch drilled and zipper fracked.
Okay. And Sarah Beth, this was one where Marathon had previously, requested the reduced setbacks to drill closer to that common section line. You no longer intend to develop in that manner, is that correct?
That's correct. After further evaluation of this area, we determined that the well spacing, we needed to drop one well, and so instead of the 3, we're doing 2 between the 2 existing parents, and so that resulted in the 1 section line well.
Sure, so that,
That is slightly offset the section.
yeah,
line.
so that setback relief that was previously granted, that's no longer necessary?
Correct. That can be dismissed.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from staff?
Sarah Beth, this is David Tabor. In your exhibit G4, and I'm going to do my best to ask my question here, but your furthest east well, planned Middle Bakken well, I'll say, the green dashed line shows it extremely close to an existing well bore. Is that accurate, or is that actually going to be further east in reality than what's kind of shown here?
In reality, that well will be placed directly between the existing parents, and then the well just to the west of that is going to have an azimuthal bend midway through the lateral, but will have the same bottom hole location. And we are planning to P&A the well that straddles both of those, the Patrick.
That would be the well that kind of, the current well that has the curve to it, is that correct? I'm trying to look it up
Yeah,
here.
that's correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sarah Beth, how far off the section line is the lease line well proposed?
We're trying to maximize our space around the azimuthal bend well, But at the penetration point where the 7-inch casing will be is 100 feet from the west line, and then at the toe will be 230 feet from the west line. So still a section line well, but it is slightly off to maximize our distance from the western well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
You can proceed.
All right. Julie, let's look at Exhibit E1. Can you take us through the reservoir data and economics?
Yes. The proposed well is a 2-mile Middle Bakken well with an expected production of 537,000 barrels of oil. This is of an original oil in place of about 12 million barrels for the 2560 acre unit, leading to a well recovery factor of about 4.5%. The well is expected to have positive returns with a BFIT NPV10 of $7 million. The economics will run at $70 per barrel WTI.
Okay. And then on E2, can you just describe how you'd propose to drill and complete the well?
Yes. The drilling and completions plan for this well is our standard well plan, which is to run and cement 7-inch casing past the kickoff point, then to run and cement a 4.5-inch liner approximately 10,000 feet further. We will be completing 37 stages in a plug-and-perf manner. The total well cost is expected to be around $7 million. This includes location, drilling, completion, flowback facilities, and artificial lift costs.
And Julie, if the commission were to approve the 2560 to allow for the lease line well, would that prevent waste and protect relative rights?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions that offer the engineering exhibits and the gas capture affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Well, that concludes our hearing for case number 31086. Case number 31087, application of Murex Petroleum Corp. for an order suspending and after hearing revoking a permit issued to Continental Resources, Inc. for the drilling of the Berlane 7-30 HSL well on a spacing unit for the Alexander Bakken pool consisting of sections 25 and 36, Township 151 North, Range 101 West, and sections 30 and 31, Township 151 North, Range 100 West, Kenzie County, North Dakota, or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to the September hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31087. Case number 31088. Application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Green Lake Blue Ridge Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping 5120 acre spacing unit described as sections 3, 4, 9, 10, 15, 16, 21, and 22, Township 159 North, Range 100 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and to authorize one horizontal well to be drilled on such unit and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, Tom Throne, P.O. Box 6590 in Sheridan, Wyoming, appearing on behalf of the applicant, Phoenix Operating Company. I have 3 witnesses. All are here in person. Mark Johnson will be my land witness. Nick Daniele will be my geology witness. And Brandon Allen will be my engineering witness.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do.
Mr. Johnson, would you please state your name and work address for the staff?
My name is Mark Johnson. My work address is 4643 South Ulster Street, Suite 1510, Denver, Colorado 80237, and I'm employed by Phoenix Operating LLC.
In what capacity?
I am a regulatory manager.
And have you previously been accepted as an expert witness in petroleum land matters by this commission?
I have.
And are you personally familiar with the lands that we're going to discuss today?
I am.
I would ask that Mr. Johnson's testimony be accepted as that of an expert in petroleum land matters.
Motion granted.
Did you prepare certain exhibits for this hearing?
I did.
Starting with Exhibit 1, please discuss the lands that are subject to this hearing today.
Exhibit 1 shows kind of an overview of our proposed area that we've been working in on the Williams County, Divide County border. What we're speaking about today is on the far west, the units depicted on the far west. If you go to Exhibit 2, you can focus in a little bit better and see the 5120 spacing unit proposed as 3, 4, 9, 10, 15, 16, 21, and 22 of 159, 100.
And for what purpose is Phoenix asking to establish the spacing unit?
We would like to drill a lease line well on the west side of our previously established unit.
There are other spacing units depicted on Exhibit 2. Briefly refresh the staff on Phoenix's activity in the area.
Yeah, those are all the spacing units that a majority of the spacing units that we've spaced with the commission over the last year, and 6 of those have been drilled as of this time.
Okay, moving on to Exhibit 3, please discuss the working interest ownership of Phoenix in this proposed unit.
Yep. As we zoom in on 3, 4, 9, 10, 15, 16, 21, and 22, you can see at the bottom that Phoenix has a 17.4% working interest in this 5120 spacing unit. We have been in contact with other working interest operators in this unit, proposed unit. The people right next door to us to the west are Hunt Oil Company, and we have been in discussions with them about the proper spacing of what they want versus what we're looking for. So we do have some recommendations from them that we'd like to speak to also.
So you've agreed with Hunt to place a limitation or request that the commission staff place a limitation on the location of the proposed well?
Yes, sir.
And what is that limitation?
200 feet from the west line of our previously established unit of 3, 10, 15, and 22.
Okay. And refresh the commission's memory on the existing unit in 3, 10, 15, and 22.
That's a unit that we've come back a few times to discuss with you guys, and we're finally granted a 4-mile unit of 3, 10, 15, and 22. It won't technically drill all the way the 4 miles, but because we have the federal minerals where we will not be able to get a lease in a timely fashion. So we will drill those short and just come up couple 50 feet short of the federal minerals in section 22.
And there are some well bores shown on Exhibit 3. Do you see those?
I do.
And what are those well bores?
Those are the Hunt well bores to the west, and the well in 3 and 10 is a plugged well.
In addition to Hunt, does Phoenix intend to cooperate with other working interest owners in the proposed spacing unit?
We do.
And have you executed Exhibit number 9, the gas capture affidavit?
I have.
I would ask for the admission of Exhibits 1, 2, and 3, and 9, and tender Mr. Johnson for questions from the staff.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Mark, who operates the well in sections 16 and 21?
That's Kraken in 16 and 21.
Through Neptune?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Daniele, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Daniele, would you please state your name and work address for the staff and also spell your last name for the staff?
Yes, my name is Nick Daniele, Daniele. Work address 4643 South Ulster Street, Suite 1510, Denver, Colorado 80237.
And for whom do you work and in what capacity?
I work for Phoenix Operating LLC as the Vice President of Geology.
And have you been accepted as an expert witness in petroleum geology by this commission in the past?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar with the lands that we're discussing today?
Yes, sir.
I would ask that his testimony be accepted as that of an expert in petroleum geology.
Motion granted.
And have you prepared certain exhibits for this hearing?
I have.
Starting with Exhibit 4, please describe the structure of the Middle Bakken for the lands that are subject to this hearing.
Exhibit 4 is a geologic structure map on top of the Middle Bakken. Shown on the map is the proposed 5120 acre spacing unit in red with other Phoenix operating units shown in black. Middle Bakken wells are shown with black dots at the toes, and Three Forks horizontal wells are shown with purple dots at the toes. The structure in this area dips from north to south slightly, and the contour interval for the map is 50 feet.
And is the proposed spacing configuration imposed on this map?
Yes, sir.
And you have a dot on here labeled as the type log.
Yes, sir.
And is there also a line for a cross-section?
Yes.
Moving on to Exhibit 5, please discuss the type log and the cross-section.
Cross-section 8A prime from west to east, shown on the previous exhibit. The first track is gamma ray, the second track is resistivity, and the third track is porosity. The type log used is the middle well, the Easterby 111, and the reservoir parameters were created using that type log.
And are the reservoir characteristics displayed also on Exhibit 5?
Yes, sir.
Would you please describe those?
The approximate TVD for the Middle Bakken in this proposed unit is 9,250 feet, with an average porosity of 7%, average water saturation of 30%, average thickness of 49 feet. Using a BOI of 1.5, it yields about 8 million barrels of oil in place per section.
And is the Middle Bakken present and continuous underneath the entire proposed spacing unit?
Yes, sir.
And if this application is approved, will waste be prevented, relative rights protected, and the drilling of unnecessary wells prevented?
Yes.
I would ask that Exhibits 4 and 5 be admitted into the record and tender Mr. Daniele a few questions from the staff.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. Allen, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Brandon Allen. My work address is 4643 South Ulster Street, Suite 1510, Denver, Colorado 80237.
And for whom do you work and in what capacity?
I work for Phoenix Operating as the president and head of reservoir engineering.
And have you previously been accepted as that as an expert witness in petroleum engineering?
Yes, I have.
And are you personally familiar with all of the lands that we're discussing today?
I am.
I would ask that Mr. Allen's testimony be accepted as that as an expert witness.
Motion granted.
Starting with Exhibit 6, would you please describe the wellbore that Phoenix anticipates using?
Exhibit 6 depicts an example wellbore diagram for the approximately 4 mile lateral. Surface casing of 9 5/8 inch, an intermediate string set just in the Bakken as we get landed of a 7 inch and then a 5 inch flush liner to TD.
Moving on to Exhibit 7, please describe Phoenix's proposed development plan.
Current proposed development plan avoids the plug and abandon well in 3 and 10. We would equally space the wells across the unit as best that we can, depicted here in the cartoon, with the proposed lease line well hugging the western lease line of our existing unit. But as Mark Johnson said previously, we would be 200 feet shaded into our section per our agreement with Hunt.
And you're acceptable with that limitation if this commission approves that well?
Yes, sir.
There are some well bores shown on Exhibit 7. Are you at all familiar with those?
Yes.
Would you please briefly describe them?
Yes, the spacing to the south adheres to our spacing that we plan to develop this unit with. The producing wells are depicted Middle Bakken with black dots, and Three Forks wells with purple dots.
If this application is approved, does Phoenix intend to batch drill all wells, including the lease line well?
Yes, that's correct.
Moving on to Exhibit 8, would you please describe the economics of the proposed well?
Yes, so the current proposed well, I'm showing as the 4-mile lateral on, it's between 3 and 4 miles because we have to avoid the federal tract as depicted on the previous exhibit. So our economics will land somewhere between this 3 and 4 miles. Our current EUR for a 4-mile lateral is 535,000 barrels, while our 3-mile is 485,000 barrels. Current economics suggest that for a D&C cost of somewhere between 9.5 and 11.5 million, given the lateral length, that our PV lands up at approximately $13 million, with an IRR in the 15 to 25%, and a payout of approximately 3 years.
And when does Phoenix hope to drill all these wells?
We would like to spud it by the end of the year, so Q4 of this year.
Okay. If the application is approved, in your opinion, will the drilling of unnecessary wells be prevented, relative rights protected, and waste prevented?
Yes.
And are you familiar with Exhibit 9, the gas capture affidavit previously testified to?
I am.
I would ask that Exhibits 6 through 9 be admitted into the record and tender Mr. Allen for questions.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Brandon, how many stages are planned?
We're working on that right now. Probably 100 to 110. The tow stages, it depends on the amount of rate that we're going to get at surface. And the rate per perf is very important to us as far as completion. So we're varying the tow stages a little bit. We still haven't landed completely on a design for that part of the lateral, but somewhere in that neighborhood, 100 to 110.
And I believe you mentioned this, but I didn't catch. How many feet are you going to be set to the east of the section line for the well?
200 feet from that eastern line of our existing 2560.
Eastern line or western line?
Sorry, east of the west line. 200 feet east of the west line.
Okay,
So within our unit, 200 feet.
thank you.
Yes.
Brandon, your agreement with Hunt, it says you're supposed to drill the well at 200 feet from the west line.
Yes, sir.
So where are you gonna put the wellbore at?
That, as long as it lies within the corridor 250 on either side, that was the precedent, I guess, established for lease line corridors. 250 on either side was your lease line corridor. 500 on either side is the fully established, but you can't drill in the 250 to 500. So we would shade as close as we can to the hard line of the lease line corridor on our end, on our side of the fence, if you will. But we give ourselves a little buffer just so that we don't accidentally drill across that hard line.
So where are you gonna put the lateral at?
200 feet from the,
So you think you can stay 200 feet away if you put the wellbore at 200 feet?
I guess I'm not following your questioning.
So Hunt wants you to stay 200 feet from the line.
Yes, on our side of the fence.
And
That's
if you
correct.
put the well at 200 feet, can you stay 200 feet from the line?
Yes.
So you're not gonna drift at all to the west?
We would hope not to. You know, that would be always the plan, is to drill it straight. But, you know, it varies a little bit sometimes.
So when you get down between sections 15, 16, 21, and 22, would you move the well to the west and drill it to a full extent?
No, we would not. Again, kind of per our agreement with Hunt, and we would just provide Kraken that, or afford them that same agreement, to stay away from their wellbore in their own unit, in 16 and 21. We have to stop short of that federal tract because we cannot penetrate that federal tract, so we'd end up stopping.
But
A
if you
little bit
move the well to the west, you could drill another quarter mile.
We could drill another quarter mile, that's correct. We would not be opposed to the commission allowing us to do that, but
Commission
again,
won't prohibit that.
we were just affording Kraken the same, you know, deal that we've made with Hunt, so that they can develop their unit on spacing that we believe is, you know, equal across between our units and their units.
So does your agreement with Hunt require the commission to put a setback restriction in there?
We would like that, yes, we would request that.
So again, if we set it at 200 feet and you cross over that, you'd be in violation of the order.
That's true, we'd like a little bit of wiggle room.
So are you gonna provide the wiggle room, or do you want us to?
We would request that the commission give us a little bit of wiggle room, that's fair.
So do you want the setback at 175 feet?
Sure. That sounds great.
And again, to reiterate, I mean, that's the only, since your agreement's with Hunt, we would probably, in the order, put that it's until you get into sections 15 and 16, and there you could do whatever you wanted.
That would be great.
And then if you decide you want to drill another quarter mile and put that federal acreage into drainage,
Perfect. I like where you're going.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31088. Case number 31089, application of Phoenix Operating for an order amending the applicable orders for the Big Stone Bakken Pool to establish a 2560-acre spacing unit described as sections 5, 8, 17, and 20, Township 159 North, Range 98 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and to authorize 5 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, Tom Throne, appearing on behalf of the applicant. I have the same 3 witnesses.
And they are still under oath.
Okay, Mark, have you prepared exhibits for this hearing?
I have.
Starting as we did before with Exhibit 1, please describe the location that we are discussing today.
This is, again, the same picture that we just looked at. This is our regional map of this area in the Williams Divide border. You can see the area of interest is on the right side, and it's a 4-mile lateral. As you go to Exhibit 2 and zoom in on it a little bit more, you can see that the 2560 proposed spacing unit is sections 5, 8, 17, and 20 of 15998. Again, the other black units shown are things that we've come to the commission to space and have drilled or will be drilling in the near future.
Exhibit 3, discuss the working interest ownership of Phoenix in this proposed unit.
Yeah, Exhibit 3, again, zooms in on the 2560 spacing unit of 5, 8, 17, and 20 of 15998. Today, Phoenix currently has a 78.5% working interest in this unit.
And do you tend to work with the other 21.5% working interest owners that exist in this unit?
We do.
And have you executed the gas capture affidavit attached to Exhibit 10 in this hearing?
I have.
I would ask that Exhibits 1, 2, 3, and 10 be admitted into the record.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Mark, it appears that it would be prudent to terminate the two stand-up 1280s.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Proceed.
Okay, Mr. Daniele, you're still under oath.
Yes, sir.
You prepared certain exhibits for this hearing.
I did.
Starting with Exhibit 4, would you please describe the structure map?
This is a structure map made on top of the Middle Bakken. The proposed unit is outlined in red, with the other units for Phoenix Operating outlined in black. Middle Bakken producers shown with black dots at the toes, Three Forks producers shown with purple dots at the toes. The structure in this area dips from north to south slightly, and the map shows a contour interval of 50 feet for the structure map.
And you have a type log and a cross-section depicted on this map.
Yes, sir.
Using Exhibit 5, please describe both.
Exhibit 5 is a cross-section from A to A prime, so west to east. The first track shows gamma ray, the second track shows resistivity, and the third track shows porosity. The type log used for the reservoir parameters are the middle well and the cross-section.
Okay, and I think you mentioned this, but the reservoir characteristics are displayed on below,
Yes, sir.
and that's what you used the middle well to derive?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of any other companies that have successfully drilled wells approximately 3.5 miles in length or longer?
Yes, sir.
Would you please describe?
Slauson, Grayson Mill, and Kraken have all successfully drilled wells over 3.5 miles. I believe when I counted them up, it was over 30 total wells, over 3.5 miles.
And have you had an opportunity to examine the geology in those areas where the other wells have been drilled?
Yes, sir.
And is the geology of where those wells are located similar to the geologic characteristics of the lands we're discussing today?
Similar. Here it's actually thicker. The Middle Bakken's thicker.
So,
But reservoir properties, porosity, all that's very similar.
okay, and is the Middle Bakken present and continuous across the entire proposed spacing unit?
Yes, sir.
And if the application is approved, will waste be prevented, relative rights protected, and the drilling of unnecessary wells prevented?
Yes.
I would ask that Exhibits 4 and 5 be admitted into the record and tender Mr. Daniele for questions from the staff.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Okay, call Mr. Brandon Allen. Mr. Allen, you realize you're still under oath?
Yes, sir.
And did you prepare some exhibits for this hearing?
Yes, sir.
Before we go through those exhibits, please describe for the staff Phoenix's anticipated operations in this area.
We plan to take a moment and drill a few units not in this area, and then come back to this area, drill the two cases that we heard right before this, or the one case before this, and then the one case that's going to follow this, or the three cases that will follow this. Our plan is to try to really develop out this area here in the next, call it 18 to 24 months.
Okay, moving to Exhibit 6, is this the same wellbore diagram you discussed in the last hearing?
It is.
Moving on to Exhibit 7, please explain the development plans that you would like to do in this proposed spacing unit.
Yes, the proposed development plan is 5 wells across the unit, approximately 4 miles worth of lateral. The current depiction of the multi-well pad in 5, we're still evaluating that. From a topography standpoint, it may move to section 20. But either way, we would batch drill all 5 wells at the same time and then zipper frac them
And there are some well bores also shown on this exhibit. Are you familiar with those well bores?
I am indeed.
Would you please describe them for the staff?
Yes, there's a offset producing well by Cord Energy very close to the lease line there in 16 and 21, depicted in blue with a black dot. The remainder of them, the unit just to the, or the 2 units, I should say, just to the west, are 2 3-mile stand-ups that have been permitted by Kraken.
Are you familiar with other operators that have drilled 3.5 mile or longer laterals in the manner that Phoenix is anticipating?
Yes.
And would you please identify them for the staff?
Yes, so as Nick mentioned, there's quite a few, and actually towards the state line, I could move to Exhibit 8A. As you get close to the state line, some of the sections become short sections, or not full sections. So Grayson Mill and Kraken primarily over in this area, general area, have drilled wells that are 3+ miles. And they've also drilled 2 and 3 milers as well. So depicted on the maps in Exhibit 8A are those producing wells with lateral lengths of 2 miles, 3 miles, and 3+ miles. So those have been bucketed and the number of wells depicted in the table between those 2 maps. Moving on to Exhibit 8B, shows the productivity curves, the average productivity curves of those 3 buckets, 2 miles, 3 miles, and 3+ miles laterals. The blue is 2 miles, the orange is 3 miles, and the green is 3+ miles. The productivity has been normalized by lateral length. So I think as everybody has probably seen thus far, across the basin is going from 2 to 3 miles, you lose productivity normalized on a per lateral foot basis when going from 2 to 3 miles. And as you can see here depicted, going from 3 to 3+ miles, the productivity per foot, per lateral foot has essentially stayed the same. So when you unnormalize it, 3-mile laterals yield approximately a 30% increase in production relative to 2-mile laterals, while 3+ mile laterals yield greater than a 50% increase in productivity in the first 12 months.
And moving on to Exhibit 9, would you describe the well economics of a 2-mile versus a 4-mile lateral in the Middle Bakken and what you anticipate with a 4-mile completion in the Middle Bakken?
Yes, so we gain a lot of economic efficiencies going from 2 to 4 miles. Hence, we're here requesting that the commission allow us to do so. With a small increase in productivity as really judged by the previous exhibit, we go from 410,000 barrels to 680,000 barrels on our EUR. But we save a lot of cost. We only have to drill 5 wells versus drilling 5 4-mile laterals versus drilling 10 2-mile laterals. So we really pick up a lot of efficiencies on the economics. A 2-mile well costing $8 million only yields a PV of approximately $2.3 million, whereas a 4-mile lateral on a D&C cost of $11.5 million yields a PV of almost 8. So we pick up a lot of rate, again, just the incremental cost to access the incremental reserves, even if it has a normalized productivity decrease per lateral foot, is still improves our economics significantly.
And how about the internal rate of return differences?
Yes, the IRR essentially doubles, or gets close to, and the payout significantly reduces from 2.5 years to 1.5 years.
And if this application is approved, will the drilling of unnecessary wells be prevented and relative rights protected and waste prevented?
Yes, it will.
And is Exhibit 10 the gas capture affidavit executed by Mr. Johnson?
Yes, it is.
I would ask that Exhibit 6, 7, 8A, 8B, 9 be admitted into the record.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Brandon, on Exhibit 8B, what's the significance of the 2-miler line where it drops precipitously?
That's just a drop in the number of wells that have had production for that long. So it's being weighted more heavily towards some wells that maybe actually didn't produce that well, relatively speaking.
And those wells are from Exhibit 8A?
Yes, that's correct.
So they have 2-mile wells that haven't produced more than 2 years?
Within these, I picked new modern wells. So it's not all the wells that are within these townships. These are selected wells that I believe represent a more modern completion, are recent, so that we get kind of apples to apples-ish comparison.
Can you explain to me what when unnormalized means?
Sure. So the normalized production is on a per lateral foot basis, so thousands of barrels of oil per lateral foot. If you unnormalize that, it's just thousands of barrels in that time frame. So let's say it was, 100,000 barrels in 12 months. A 30% increase would be 130,000, and a 50% increase would be 150,000.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31089.
Mr. Chairman, I would propose that the dockets 31090, 31091, and 31092 be combined into one hearing. The engineering and geology exhibits are essentially the same for all three hearings, and we've set it up as a packet so it'll be easy for the staff to follow the hearings by just showing you the exhibits where there are differences in the three.
Okay. Any objection from the staff? Your request is granted.
Okay, let's pass out the exhibits.
So let's move. We'll call now case numbers 31090, 31091, 31092. Case number 31090, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Big Stone Bakken Pool to establish a 2560-acre space unit described as sections 211, 14, and 23, Township 159 North, Range 98 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and to authorize 5 horizontal wells to be drilled on each such unit and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. Case number 31091, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Big Stone Bakken Pool to establish a 5120-acre spacing unit described as sections 2, 3, 10, 11, 14, 15, 22, and 23, Township 159 North, Range 98 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and to authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. Case number 31092, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Big Stone Bakken Pool to establish a 5120-acre spacing unit described as sections 1, 2, 11, 12, 13, 14, 23, and 24, Township 159 North, Range 98 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and to authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit and granting such relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Tom Throne, P.O. Box 6590 in Sheridan, Wyoming, appearing in all three dockets on behalf of Phoenix Operating. I have the same three witnesses that we had the last two hearings. And before we get started, while we're passing out the exhibits, let me explain how I want to go through this so that it's more efficient. Each of you should have a group of exhibits called Land Exhibits, Exhibit 2, Land Exhibits 3, a packet of geologic structure maps, Exhibit 4, and Exhibit 7, the engineering maps. The reason I'm doing it this way is we can go through and identify the differences on each application because they all work together. I would suggest that you start with 31090 when we get to the engineering and geology exhibits. Those exhibits, except as we provide here, are the same in all three cases, and I think that'd be the most efficient way to proceed. And let me know if the staff is ready or has any questions on how we intend to proceed. Guys all ready? Okay, Mark, you're still under oath. You're still under oath.
That's correct.
And you prepared exhibits in all three hearings?
I have.
Okay, starting with Exhibit 1, the regional map, which is the same in all three hearings, please just describe that exhibit again. And then after that, start with Exhibit 2 and talk about Exhibit 2 on all three applications, and then continue on.
Okay. Exhibit 1, again, is the same for all three of these cases, and it again depicts our activity in the Williams Divide area. As you can see, the area of interest is on the right side. And as you go to Exhibit 2, it zooms in a little bit further. Exhibit 2 for case 31090 just depicts the proposed 2560 spacing unit of 2, 11, 14, and 23 of 15998. Exhibit 2 for case 31091, which is basically a lease line well to the west, shows the 1520 spacing, proposed spacing unit of 2, 3, 10, 11, 14, 15, 22, and 23 of 15998. And then Exhibit 2 for case 31092 depicts an eastern lease line of 5120 spacing unit of 1, 2, 11, 12, 13, 14, 23, and 24. Again, it's basically establishing a base unit and then a lease line well on each side. As you go to Exhibit 3, for case 31090, you can see the base unit of 2, 11, 14, and 23. Phoenix currently has a 54.8% working interest in this unit. As we go to Exhibit 3 for case 31091, again, this is the western lease line well of 2, 3, 10, 11, 14, 15, 22, and 23. Phoenix has a 35.7% working interest in this proposed 5120 spacing unit. And Exhibit 3 for case 31092 depicts the east lease line well of sections 1, 2, 11, 12, 13, 14, 23, and 24 of 15998. And Phoenix currently has a 27.5% working interest.
Will Phoenix cooperate with the other working interest owners in each of these proposed units if they're approved?
We will.
And is Exhibit 10 in each application or each set of exhibits the gas capture affidavit?
That's correct.
And it's the same affidavit in each one, correct?
Yes.
I would ask for the admission of the exhibits 1, 2, and 3 in each exhibit packet. And for the person keeping track of the records, the intention is to have one set of the full exhibits as the official record, and the 3 stepped together are just for convenience, to avoid repeating them.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Mark, it looks like we have some lease line 2560s that will have to be terminated, specifically 2, 3, 10, and 11, 1, 2, 11, and 12, and 13, 14, 23, and 24.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sections 1, 2, 11, and 12,
Yep,
2, 3, 10, and 11,
correct.
and 13, 14, 23, and 24.
That's correct. We'd like to terminate those.
Oh, you're, okay, I'm sorry, I got caught up in reading the exhibits. You can proceed.
Well, that's a novel concept. Mr. Daniele, you realize you're still under oath?
Yes, sir.
And have you prepared or caused to be prepared certain exhibits for this hearing?
I have.
Using the packet of Exhibit 4s that we passed out, please describe the structure map that you've calculated, including the type log and cross-section, and then just describe the difference in the contents of each of the exhibits for each of the hearings.
In Exhibit 4 of 31090, this is a structure map on top of the Middle Bakken Formation. The proposed 4-mile unit is shown in red. Other Phoenix operating units shown in black. Middle Bakken wells, producing Middle Bakken wells have a black dot at the toes, and producing Three Forks horizontal wells have a purple dot at the toes. The Middle Bakken structure in this area dips slightly from north to south, and the map shows a 50-foot contour interval.
And the differences on each Exhibit 4
And the-
for each of the hearings?
And the difference on Exhibit 4 of 31091 just shows the proposed outline for the western lease line, eastern lease line unit. And then Exhibit 4, excuse me.
I think,
31091 is the western lease line. Everything else from the structure map is the same. Then Exhibit 4 from 31092 is the eastern lease line, well, with everything else the same.
so in all cases, the formation is present in continuance under each of the proposed spacing units?
Yes, sir.
And I believe you testified last hearing about some other operators who have completed wells longer than 3.5 miles. Is the geology here in this set of spacing units similar to the geology in those other areas?
Yes, sir.
I would ask that Exhibits 4 and 5 being, yeah, you didn't do 5,
I didn't do
did you?
5, I just did the structure.
Okay, go to Exhibit 5 and discuss the cross-section that was depicted on the Exhibits 4, and then also discuss the reservoir characteristics.
So Exhibit 5 and 31090 will be the same across all 31091, 31092. The same cross-section and type log were used. The cross-sections from A to A prime across the unit. The first tract is gamma ray, the second tract is resistivity, the third tract is porosity. The middle log was used as the type log for the reservoir parameters. Approximate TVD at the Middle Bakken in this area is 9,500 feet. Average porosity of 9%, average water saturation of 29%, average thickness of 57 feet, using a BOI of 1.5 yields 12 million, roughly 12 million barrels of oil in place per section.
Okay, I would like to move for the admission of Exhibits 4 and 5 in all 3 dockets.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Mr. Allen, you realize you're still under oath,
Yes, sir.
and you're familiar with these lands as well,
I am.
and you prepared some exhibits.
I did.
And is it Exhibit 6 the same wellbore diagram that we've discussed before, and it's attached to all 3 sets of exhibits?
That's correct.
Moving on to, well, first, before going through the exhibits, please describe what Phoenix's anticipated operations are, and you could probably use Exhibit 7 to discuss the operations and why we're applying for all 3 applications at the same time.
You bet. So Exhibit 7 for case 31090 depicts 5 in-unit wells, equally spaced across the unit, drilling the Middle Bakken. Our current surface location is located on the northern end of Section 2, and we would batch drill all 5 wells at the same time. Moving to Exhibit 7 on case number 31091 depicts a spacing unit including lease line wells. We feel like the oil in place warrants additional wells. However, additional wells that are constrained to be within the unit pushes the well spacing a little bit tighter than we would hope. So we feel like we are not draining the reservoir effectively with 5 wells. However, if the commission decides that they do not want to grant us lease line wells on either side, we would drill 5 wells in unit. So Exhibit 7 on 31091 shows those 6 wells, again, being batch drilled on a multi-well pad located in the northern part of Section 2. Exhibit 7 of 31092 shows the same 6 wells being drilled, this being the eastern lease line proposed unit.
So there would be a total of 6 wells drilled if all 3 applications are approved?
Yes, sir.
And there would be intention to build 5 wells if only the baseline spacing unit of 2, 11, 14, and 23 are drilled?
That is correct.
And would Phoenix anticipate drilling all wells, all 6 wells, if all 3 applications are approved simultaneously?
Yes, we would batch drill all wells at the same time.
Now, at the last hearing, we discussed Exhibits 8A and B on the advantages of 3+ mile laterals. Do you have anything you want to add? Those exhibits are included in each packet, just like they were in 31089, aren't they?
Yes, that's correct. They are the same, and I have no additional commentary regarding those.
Okay, and Exhibit 9 reiterates the economics of a 2-mile lateral versus a 4-mile lateral, like we discussed in 31089.
That's correct. It's the same as the previous case.
And do you have anything you want to add?
No, sir.
And Exhibit 10 is the gas capture affidavit.
That's correct.
I would ask that the exhibits 6, 7, 8A, 8B, 9 be admitted into the record in each case.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
I guess
Brett,
this-
well, go ahead.
I guess this is for Mark. Are you aware of who operates section 15 and 22?
It's cord.
Yeah.
Cord.
Cord.
Do you know if they have any plans to develop that acreage anytime soon?
We have not heard anything from them.
We've discussed actually a potential trade out of their units versus, we have stuff in their units. We have non-op minerals as well as leasehold in their units across the basin. And we proposed trading, and they don't have too much interest in this area just in general.
So I guess for Brandon, what would your development look like if you could have the 5120 on the east but not on the west, since we wouldn't want to have 15 and 22 held by production by that lease line well?
We would, that's a good question. We'd probably do 5 wells still and equally space them. I'd have to look at what the spacing would be to try to get 6 wells but shifted. The likely outcome would be we would only drill 5 wells instead of 6.
Would those 5 wells be off your original plan in 31090?
No, we would space them out a little bit more if the eastern lease line unit is approved. We would utilize that to space the wells out a little bit more.
What's your anticipated spud date for this pad?
Right now, it's Q2 of next year.
Thank you.
You bet.
Brandon, I was just gonna make sure I understood correctly that if the 2 lease line spacing units are granted, then you would only drill 4 wells in the 2560.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, That concludes our hearing for case numbers 31090, 31091, and 31092. Case number 31053, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Kittleson Slough Bakken Pool to establish a 1920-acre spacing unit described as sections 3 and 10, Township 157 North, Range 91 West, Montreal County, North Dakota, and Section 34, Township 158 North, Range 91 West, Montreal County, North Dakota, and to authorize 8 horizontal wells to be drilled in such unit and granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, Tom Throne, P.O. Box 6590, appearing on behalf of, in Sheridan, Wyoming, by the way, appearing on behalf of Phoenix Operating. Same witnesses as we've had in the last previous hearings.
Okay, just a reminder, they're still under oath.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, did you prepare or cause to be prepared certain exhibits for this hearing?
I did.
And are we in a different area than we were in the last 5 hearings?
Yes, you can see on Exhibit 1, we are to the east now in Montreal County. For a reference point, the stuff we spoke about in the previous 5 cases is up in the left corner, up in the Divide Williams County border. So we've moved east and a bit south here.
Okay, moving on to Exhibit 2, discuss what Phoenix is proposing in this area.
Exhibit 2, as we zoom in, shows our proposed 1920 spacing unit comprised of Section 34 of 15891 and Sections 3 and 10 of 15791. As we go to Exhibit 3 and zoom in further, you can see the well that's currently in 34 and 3, which is operated by Phoenix Operating. And then there's a well in Section 10, which we have purchased from Hunt Oil Company in the last couple months, and the paperwork I don't think has been changed over to our name. So both the wells depicted in there are under our control at this moment. Currently, we own 42.3% working interest in this proposed 1920, but we are working with one of the other operators in this proposed unit as possible trade, so we can get them out of it and get us a higher percentage.
Why is Phoenix proposing a spacing unit across the township line?
There was a previous well already drilled across the section line. It's our Afseth well. So we're just continuing what's already kind of been established.
Okay. Will Phoenix cooperate with the other working interest owners in the area?
We will.
And did you execute the gas capture affidavit, which I believe is Exhibit 9 in this set of exhibits?
I did.
I would ask that Exhibits 1, 2, 3, and 9 be admitted into the record.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Mark, that well that you indicated in 10 and that you're showing on Exhibit 3 that you purchased, is Phoenix intending to continue to produce that well once the transfer of operatorship is approved through the commission, or are they intending to plug and abandon that well before drilling the proposed wells?
I would defer that question to Brandon, if you don't mind.
Yep, that's fine. And then you show 2 laterals on your exhibit there. Are you referring to the one, well, that's actually PNC'd? Or am I just looking at your exhibit incorrectly?
I just know of the blue well with the black dot in the southeast corner as the James Hill. That's the well.
So you're really trying to predict the current active well that's in that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mark, you referenced the well that was drilled across the township line. Which well, or where was that at?
That's the well that starts up in the northwest corner of 34, and drills into section 3. That well's called the Afseth.
So you're talking about the well on 34 and 3.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You can proceed.
Call Mr. Nick Daniele. Have you prepared certain exhibits for this hearing?
Yes, sir.
As with others, because we're in a different area, starting with Exhibit 4, describe the cross-section type log and the structure that we're discussing today.
Sure. So this is the structure map on top of the middle Bakken. The proposed 1920 spacing unit is outlined in red. Middle Bakken producers in the area are shown with black dots at the toes. Three Forks producers are shown with purple dots at the toes. The structure in this area is slightly different from the previous hearings. The Middle Bakken is dipping from northeast to southwest, and the structure map shows a 50-foot contour interval. The cross sections from south to north across the unit, proposed unit, from A to A prime, and the type log will be the first well on the cross section in A.
Okay, moving on to Exhibit 5, please describe the cross-section.
Cross section 8A prime, the type log is on the left side, and that was used for the reservoir properties at the bottom. First track's gamma ray, second track's resistivity, and third track's porosity.
And please go over the reservoir properties that are at the bottom of Exhibit 5.
Sure. So to start off, we'll look at the bottom left, the Middle Bakken reservoir properties. We anticipate an approximate TVD of around 9175, 8% average porosity, 23% water saturation, 30 feet average thickness, using a BOI of 1.3, gives us about 6.75 million barrels of oil in place per section. Moving to the bottom right, that depicts the Three Forks reservoir properties, upper Three Forks. Approximate TVD of 9250, average porosity of 5%, average water saturation of 48%, average thickness of 32 feet, using a BOI of 1.3 that yields a little over 3 million barrels of oil in place per section.
And does Phoenix intend to target both the Three Forks and the Middle Bakken?
Yes.
And are both zones present and continuous across the proposed spacing unit?
Yes.
And if this is approved, will waste be prevented, relative rights protected, and the drilling of unnecessary wells prevented?
Yes.
I would ask that Exhibits 4 and 5 be admitted in the record and tender Mr. Daniele for questions.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Is your Three Forks target just going to be first bench?
Yes, just first bench. There's some first bench wells in the area. In one of our units, sorry, to the west, in the unit in 3328, 4 and 9, there's a Three Forks well existing, and then in 33, 28, and 21, we plan to test a Three Forks there before we make it to this unit. You can see it on Exhibit 2.
And if that test is successful, you would drill this as planned?
Yes,
Would it be only Middle Bakken target if the test didn't go well?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You can proceed.
Okay, Mr. Allen, you realize you're still under oath?
Yes, sir.
Starting with Exhibit 6, is that the same exhibit that we've looked at in the other dockets?
Very close. The casing size for the liner is actually 4.5 inch rather than 5-inch flush for the longer laterals.
Okay, moving on to Exhibit 7, please discuss Phoenix's proposed development plan, assuming they develop both formations.
That's correct. So our planned development shows proposed Middle Bakken wells in green and our proposed Three Forks horizontal wells in blue, green and dashed blue. Our current plan is to try to develop all of the wells off of the one centrally located pad in section 34, given where the current Afseth well has been drilled, and the pad. It's a small pad, so we'd like to try to drill them all from one unit. As Nick mentioned, our test in our offset unit here on co-development between the Middle Bakken and Three Forks will really dictate whether or not we drill the Three Forks, given the oil in place and how low it is relative to the Middle Bakken.
And do you have any additional comments on the existing well bores based on the questions from the staff?
No, I do not. I could address the plug and abandonment. We would plan to plug and abandon the well in section 10, and try to potentially even repurpose it as a saltwater disposal well.
Okay, moving on to Exhibit 8A. Would you please give the economics for the Middle Bakken and then move on to 8B and give the economics for the Three Forks?
Yes, so the 8A Middle Bakken reserves showing oil EUR of 520,000 barrels under today's economic environment for commodities, and a D&C cost of approximately $10 million. Our IRR is about 30%, PV10 gross of a little over $14 million, and a payout just over 2 years. Moving on to the Three Forks, which is a little more challenged, and again, we'll see how well it goes. We anticipate an oil EUR, if successful, of approximately 425,000 barrels. That same 10 million D&C cost yields an IRR right at 20% in today's pricing environment. PV10 gross of a little over 12 million and a payout just shy of 3 years.
And Exhibit 9 is the gas capture affidavit.
That's correct.
I would ask that Exhibit 6, 7, 8A, and 8B and be admitted into the record, and tender Mr. Allen for any questions from the staff.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Brandon, when's the anticipated spud date for these wells?
Q3 of 2025.
And is it your hope to P&A that well in section 10 that you spoke about prior to drilling these wells?
Yes.
Thank you.
We would produce it up until that point, but no.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31053. Case number 31093, application of Phoenix Operating LLC of an order to revoke and suspend the permit for the Annie 7-6-314H with a location in the northeast of Section 18, Township 146-9 North, Range 98 West, Ranch Creek, Bach, and Pool, McKenzie County, North Dakota, or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 31093. That concludes our hearings for the day.